All right. Hello, everybody. This is MekelKasanova of the Kasanova Podcast. Glad to have everyone here again. This is episode 7. We got a bunch of guests on the show, good friends of mine. So I want to go ahead and do the roundabout. So we got AndresRestart. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, guys. I'm really happy to be here, Mekel. I'm looking forward to having some really good discussion tonight.
All right, sounds good. And then we got WhatAboutNintendo. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, and what about Nintendo? Super glad to be here. Just like Andre said, it's gonna be a great time. Can't wait to get into it.
All right, and then last but not least, we got Jonesy The Gent. Go ahead and say what's up. Tell people about yourself.
What's going on, everybody? Can't wait to have a good discussion. Seems like we got a really good group here. Hopefully we don't go on too long.
I don't mind.
5 hours.
Right. I'm good to go tonight, so I'm
Dude,
sweet.
Just all night long, man.
Sweet 7-hour podcast.
Oh my. That'd be something else.
Yeah, it would be
crazy.
Marathon.
All right. So we got some people in the chat. We got Undead Undead663. So what's up? How you doing? All right. So some of the topics we're going to go over today, we're going to talk about the whole Digital Foundry debacle on the threat of a lawsuit from, what's the company's name? It's 3-4. Got the name of the company already. See? Anyway, and then we're also going to talk about the supposed Nintendo Direct, the fake, a fake Twitter page that was made, that was kind of interesting. And we got the rumors of Metroid and Pokemon. So, all right, what do you guys think about that whole Digital Foundry issue?
I just found it to be kind of interesting. Like, YouTubers are getting to the point, their influence is so big that if they make a mistake in their coverage, like companies like start freaking out and even start threatening to like sue you over like bad coverage. Like, and it's just a YouTube channel. Like it seems like people are finally recognizing, or a lot of companies are recognizing that YouTube has a lot more influence than some people seem to think. So I think that just goes to show that YouTube is very influential if you're big on it. So.
I think it's important to note, maybe correct me if I'm wrong though, right? But Digital Foundry is like they're a part of the bigger Eurogamer journalism company. So like they're not like an independent like small YouTube.
Yeah, not completely.
Right? So it's not like the Reddit publisher is completely attacking like, just an independent YouTuber, right, who works from home or in a small studio. This is a bigger site and Digital Foundry is just a piece of it, right?
Right. Yeah, I believe so. I believe you're correct.
So I mean, I'm not trying to take away from your point, Brandon. I'm just saying, people should note that it's not like this company is attacking like small YouTubers, and we should all be really worried about what we say, right? But I do think it's important that when we say things, we should be honest and forthcoming and actually say the truth. So I totally understand where they're coming from here, because Digital Foundry said something that has caused a lot of backlash, and it's not true.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely. Well, I mean, the way I see it is that in one way or another, they were inadvertently defaming their product, and in one way or another, it could hurt sales. And if a YouTuber or if a national media site, especially with a channel that is part of a bigger conglomerate like that, has the opportunity and gets views like that, they have an outreach where they can harm sales by giving out false information. So I think they do owe it to their viewers to give out accurate information.
Yeah. And I don't think they were... At least I don't think that Digital Foundry is, purposely giving off false information.
No, I don't either.
That kind of vibe, yeah. I'm just saying, like, sometimes, I don't know, I feel like they've gotten so big and they're recognized so much that they just kind of have this I've got this attitude and don't really, like, fact check or make sure they really get into deep and make sure all that they are saying is completely true. Sometimes they'll just take first impressions of a game take the first couple stages and be like, this is how the game is, and that's not always true. So I feel like
that's an interesting point, Brandon. Actually, we were talking about it with Mekel, like how, and not just with that, but like reviews in general, or there's a lot of people out there who aren't very genuine about the products they're reviewing. Like Mekel, like literally, you were talking about people playing Xenoblade and either writing the game off or creating an opinion based on the game after only like 5 hours, which is like probably not even 10% of the game.
Yeah.
You know?
That's still chapter 1, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Most people, unless you're, yeah, exactly, right? Like you haven't even been introduced to the majority of the mechanics of the game. Like you have no idea how the game plays, which is interesting though, right? Because you have other kinds of games that are coming out nowadays, AAA games from other publishers that are only lasting 5 to 10 hours in the main campaign. Of course, they last because they have multiplayer, right? But it's just kind of an interesting comparison because there are some games you can get a pretty good idea of how they are in 5 to 6 hours, right? And you could probably come up with a pretty solid review in 5 to 6 hours for a lot of AAA games. But Xenoblade requires at least, not 50 hours is actually bad, I would say. You need to put in at least 70 hours. Yeah. I think that's a minimum for Xenoblade.
I think I beat the game story-wise, doing mostly no side quests, almost none. I did a few here and there, and I mostly just like gunned it for the story. I beat it in 60 hours, so I say it's probably 60 to 70 hours seems about right.
Yeah.
Okay. But then you could also make the argument if you didn't do enough side quests, you didn't get a proper idea of the side quests, so then your opinion of the game could still be a little skewed.
Yeah, I guess that could be.
All I'm saying is that maybe, like, at what point can you say that you have a good understanding of the full breadth of the game and what it offers, you know, so you can give the best opinion on what people may get from that game, you know?
Yeah. And you got to balance that with how many games are coming out that you actually have to review. Because, I mean, technically, to do the best review possible, you have to beat the game 100%. That's very hard to do when you only have so much time with all these great games coming out that you have to review. So in one aspect, I understand, like, you need to do enough with the game to understand what you're talking about, whether that be graphics analysis or a review or whatever you're doing. But in the other case, like, you can't always 100% every game. It just take way too long. So
I think that's also
a balance you got to find.
Well. Yeah. But, like, so one argument you could make, though, right, is that, like, for example, Xenoblade, which is very story-centric, if you don't see the story in its totality, you can make the argument that it's hard to... For example, a movie, you have to see the whole thing, and the story is obviously, like, the most important part of a movie, right? But, like, when you see the end of a movie, you can judge the story entirely, but you can't judge the story entirely for Xenoblade until you beat the game, obviously, right? So is it important enough to beat the game to be able to judge the game based off its story?
Yeah, I'd say if it's a story-driven game, you should probably beat the story first.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've noticed with, like, a lot of reviews that I saw for Xenoblade is, you know, not only do people put like 5 or 10 hours into the game, but they're critiquing the entire story, saying it's typical anime. And I'm like, okay, well, did you see any of the plot twists? And then they're like, you know, it comes down to a lack of, I think for a lot of these companies and YouTubers, is journalistic integrity. It's a lack of it. And I don't think with Digital Foundry, I don't think their intent was to be malicious with it. But, you know, kind of like what Brandon was saying, it was, you only have so much time to do a review. And when you're given like the game like a few days ahead of time of the release or a week, you've got to put everything into it. And that's not including if they patch it or not. And I think that was one of the issues with like Rime, is when it came to the Switch, is the patch that fixed everything that the reviewers were complaining about came the day it released, which was interesting. So
yeah,
but then that's on the developers' end, right? Like,
yeah,
they're giving, you know, they're putting out a game that's not ready yet.
Exactly.
And so the reviews it's gonna reflect that.
Well, and the thing is too with Digital Foundries, and one of the thing that I was talking to a couple people about today was that they oftentimes talk about like Xenoblade and I think Titanfall 2 on the X was one of those things. They were using these games as examples. Now they had poor optimization, but they were using them as examples as why the console has problems, not necessarily why those games were poorly optimized. And that was kind of the clickbaity notion of it is, well, the Switch has problems, man. It's one of its biggest games is only 540p. Whereas, and the Titanfall 2, remember, it was supposed to be 6K, but actually it's only, 1440p. So it's these games are being used as kind of cudgels in like the console wars. And I think that's some of people's issues with Digital Foundry. And I think when this kind of situation happens with them, whereas they could be in more of a victim light, people aren't as sympathetic to them because they see like, a lot of these videos are kind of clickbaity. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's kind of like anything that has to do with graphics and gets the views, right? Because it is like you said, it's hard. It's very closely tied with fanboy wars.
Yeah.
So like, it's kind of one of those things where like, what Digital Foundry did, I don't think it was right, but I also don't think it was that bad either. Like, okay, that's kind of a minor thing if you don't care about that much about graphics, you know what I mean? But because of the huge stress and what the Xbox One X is supposed to be, right? And then people see this and are like, oh, it doesn't even, you pay what, all this money, it doesn't even do 4K, like really?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point you bring up, like, because we've been talking about the Red Hat developers, but this hurts Microsoft too, because if games are supposedly coming out on their console and they're not delivering the performance that, this $500 console is supposed to be delivering, then why would anybody want to buy the console at that point?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not worth it. So
no, it's like I was saying earlier, it defames the products. And these companies, I mean, that is their business. I mean, they do sell these products. And if we consumers do have doubt about their products, and it's unfounded, rumors or speculation, then that's not necessarily serious to us, but to them, that's profit loss, and it gets into serious territory.
Yeah, and as you were saying before, Digital Foundry isn't like they don't have the best track record. They've been known to kind of spin things on occasion to fit like their version of the console wars. So I've noticed this sometimes with like the Switch, where they'll be saying all these great things about this Switch game, like they'll be like, oh, there's a couple of small drawbacks, so the Switch version sucks. And it's like, but you just said all this good stuff. This was great, and this was great, and this was great. You're like, these two small things are not as good, so it's terrible. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
remember the Flame in the Flood?
I remember that.
Dude, I thought that game was great on the Switch, but apparently it's not, according to Digital Foundry.
Apparently it's just the worst. I actually haven't seen that one, but I can imagine from some other things I've seen from them.
So there's two things I want to mention right now. One, I feel like, graphics are important and performance is maybe more important, but like they're not as important as a lot of people paint them out to be, right? Like Breath of the Wild does have some frame rate issues in some places, but to the casual gamer, right, they won't even know. They won't even be able to tell, right? It's only the people who have the trained eye that usually notice these things. Definitely. So like. But there are a lot of casual gamers that will even watch Digital Foundry, be like, oh, so they're telling us we shouldn't like the graphics. You know what I mean? Which for graphics, you should be, if it's what you see. If you enjoy what you see, then that's good enough.
For sure.
So yeah. And the other point I want to bring up is that I think I mentioned this before we started the podcast, but Digital Foundry, like their father company is Eurogamer, and to the point you guys were making earlier, Eurogamer has released a lot of articles in the past that we don't know where some, like, like the whole Nintendo Switch rumors and the Xbox rumors, like a lot of that stuff, were leaks, right? And they created full-blown published articles that we were supposed to trust about them. So, they have a history of doing. And I don't think they actually lied about that, by the way. I think they reported about something they heard about that was going on in development, and because it's still in development, plans change, and by the time, you know, whatever they wanted to release about Pokemon became official, it was no longer Pokemon Stars.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree to that.
Yeah, but to also be fair, because we're kind of sort of bashing Digital Foundry and Eurogamer, I like both of those. Like Eurogamer did get, when in the end they got what the Switch was pretty dang correct. So to where when they actually revealed it, I was just like, oh, that's how that works. That's how that looks, because it was pretty much all the mechanics we already knew about it, and a lot of that came from Eurogamer. And Digital Foundry, I still do watch them. I kind of fact check. I do now. Too. I still kind of be cautious and fact check, but I still do enjoy them. I even watch. I don't own an Xbox One X. I'm never going to own an Xbox One X, but I'm very interested in how technology is progressing and things like that. So I will watch their Xbox One X stuff to see how, you know, it's $500. See how much money that, you know, how much performance you're getting for that kind of money and stuff these days. So I'll still keep up with them. So we're not. I don't think we're all. I don't know about you guys, but at least for me, we're not completely hating on either of these guys. So
Digital Foundry. No, Eurogamer gave us a lot to talk about when there was nothing to talk about. For for like 6 months,
for sure.
When we were waking up every day, oh, when's the NX being revealed? When is it being revealed? And literally months of nothing. Like, if it wasn't for Eurogamer, it would just be white noise.
Yeah.
That's so true.
All those fake controllers that were coming out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember the days of leaks and rumors literally almost every day.
Yeah, man. The football controller, I have to say that was the worst, man. I was like, there is no way any company would ever do this. But I mean, getting back to what you're saying about, you know, bashing Digital Foundry, like, no, I watch Digital Foundry. I usually like and enjoy their content. I don't particularly like their clickbaity videos, but when they have a good solid, just, you know, breakdown of performance and graphics, I enjoy those. I enjoy like when they do tech reviews, like their recent, when the X launched, they had you know, the best TVs, and I actually used that to purchase a TV. So, you know, like, they do have a lot of great information. It's just sometimes, it was like you were saying earlier, they have that, well, we can kind of wing it mentality, and we're to that point. So, I think we can give them the benefit of the doubt in this area.
Yeah. I mean, Digital Foundry is a little bigger, so they have multiple people working for them. So maybe that was one guy who was made responsible for Redout, and they did a bad job.
Yeah.
You know?
I just thought it was really interesting. I mean, how they immediately put out that tweet, you know, talking about how they're making their public apologies to the company. Like, I think on one end, you know, they could have taken more time to, you know, test everything. But the lawsuit thing, I'm like, okay, that's good. It's funny to me, because it's like, if you're going to say that, you know, you want to suggest lawsuits against the company for bad publicity, then that means that every game developer is going to want to start doing that. And no, I feel like that was kind of extreme.
Yeah, that was totally like 0 to 100. Yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe they could have, you know, DM'd him, but like, hey, actually, this is not true. Can you please fix this in your video? And, you know, maybe if they said no, or like, oh, we're not going to re-upload this video, then maybe take action. But, I mean, at least you could have, like, let them know beforehand. Just been like, strike them down. With the
you just said something. You guys made me think of something interesting. And maybe I'm taking this conversation in the wrong direction. But sometimes people make mistakes on YouTube, and you upload a video. I really wish YouTube offered a way to like put like notes or edits, like, oh, I'm sorry, this mistake happened. You know, like, you can't. Like, when you put a video, either you take the video down, or you put something in the title or the description or the comment section. But that's not really always the most effective way to let people know, hey, look, what I said here was wrong, or this is no longer the truth. You know?
Yeah.
So I would hope that YouTube in the future would offer a better editing feature to at least slip in like an audio piece or a piece of text, just to say, hey, look, this is wrong, or this has changed.
for sure. Because at this point, the best thing you could do is you put subtitles on and tell people in the comments to turn them on, which is totally not reliable at all.
No,
Yeah.
I had to do that for a video. It didn't work out very well.
No, for me, I made a similar mistake. Like 10 days ago, I uploaded a video about like my expectations for Nintendo in 2018, and the video is doing relatively well. But I said something kind of dumb. I said that I was just like in passing, right? But like I, for whatever reason, said, "Oh, Nintendo's online will be $30 a month." It's going to be $20 a year, right? And people were like, "Oh, what? It's going to be that expensive?" I was like, "Oh, no. I made a random like brain fart, So I went ahead and I changed the thumbnail and I put in a note in the description and I put a pinned comment to like really make sure people understand the truth. But it would have been way easier if YouTube just offered like a little feature where I could have like just put a note, "Sorry, this is actually what it is," But yeah, sometimes YouTubers are going to make mistakes.
Definitely.
I don't know if necessarily lawsuits should always be the answer for that.
No.
I mean, yeah, that was to me, I feel like that was extreme for them to go like, "Oh, okay, that was a lie and blah blah blah. We're gonna see legal action." Like, whoa, okay.
I think they're touchy. I think they're really touchy about this game. I mean, like I was talking about earlier, it has had its share of issues in production. So when it comes down to it, like they just recently released it, it's coming out on the market. Microsoft is now giving them, Xbox One and enhanced games for the X get their own separate marketplace, and it received, a prominent place in the menu. So now you have a YouTube channel of some repute is saying, well, it's not. So, I mean, I think that they were touchy about it. And I think the lawsuit is right? No. Do I think some action should have been taken? Yeah. I think that they should have definitely contacted them about taking the video down, or at least correcting it in a mea culpa or something,
Yeah.
I agree.
For sure.
Jesus, they're racing by my window again. Oh my goodness, I swear. I would move. My wife and I have talked about moving, but this condo is so cheap. Oh man.
It's because you got a drag strip beside your house, man.
I know, right? Rent for $1,200 in Honolulu, Hawaii, 2.5 bedrooms. That's
what I pay for my mortgage. You're living the life.
Oh man! All right. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this Nintendo Direct, or that fake account that was coming out, and then the official Nintendo Direct, and what games are you expecting to possibly be shown?
Can I go first?
Sure.
I'm just really excited. One, there was like a random tweet that came out that looked legit as hell, but it said @Nintendo of America instead of Nintendo of America. But even when I saw that, there was a couple red flags for me. One, the Nintendo Direct text was in black. Nintendo's doing red now. That's their theme, so I thought that was weird. Two, they made the announcement on a weekend. They don't do that. They don't announce directs on weekends. It's usually on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, or so early in the week, of the work week. And then thirdly, 2 hours of news. I don't think they would do that. I think they understand that it has to be smaller. Like the longest I think it could possibly be is 45 minutes. But if you look at Nintendo's last E3, I think that was hardly even 30 minutes, and there's tons of content there too.
Yeah.
So I'm actually expecting the Direct to be close to that E3 presentation, where if it's 30 minutes, maybe a couple minutes after, a couple minutes less than 30 minutes, and that doesn't mean there's not going to be a lot of content. It's just going to be very fast-paced, which I think is the best way to do it.
Agreed.
And to that, I think whatever we see in that Direct, I think is going to be games that will be coming out this year. So if we get that Rumor Metroid trailer, this year. If we get a Pokemon trailer, this year. Although if we don't get the Pokemon trailer, it could still come, because Pokemon companies like to do things separately. Yeah. And Bayonetta 3, of all the big games that have been announced for Nintendo, if there's one big game that's not coming out this year, in my opinion, it is Bayonetta 3 because that was the last one to be announced. And they also have a Bayonetta game coming out on Switch already this year.
That's true.
I have hope for Metroid and Pokemon though. So yeah. Those are just like quick predictions. There's tons more, but there's only so much time. You ready? I'm good. I'm done. For now.
Yeah, I don't know if I think Bayonetta is the least likeliest one to come out. I think that would probably be Metroid for me. I think that's the least likely to come out. I think Pokemon, in my opinion, is the one that's most likely to come out because they've already said that they wanted to get it done in around a year. There's been tons of rumors they wanted to get it out some, 2018 and all this stuff. And so, I don't know. I think that's one's the most likely to come out. I do not think they're going to blow it out at this presentation, though, because Pokemon Company, they like to do their own thing. So I think they might show like a teaser trailer and possibly give us a release for or a date for a Pokemon Direct where they would talk about it, because that just seems like something the Pokemon Company would do. They don't really like to just go and show stuff off at Nintendo Directs. They like their own presentations because they like to be all independent stuff and whatever. So I feel like that's what's going to happen with Pokemon. Metroid, I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to say that Pokemon and Metroid could come out next year. I mean, it's definitely a possibility, obviously. I wouldn't count it out completely. But I think it's probably going to be one or the other, like either Pokemon or Metroid. And I think if we do see Metroid there, like if they show off gameplay of Metroid, I think that probably means it's going to come out 2018. Just because they don't typically show off gameplay. Like, why would they show that off there instead of like at E3 if it wasn't coming out 2018? Doesn't seem like something they would do. So I don't know. It's hard to say as far as those go. But I also think. Well, I'll let you guys do some more predictions before I get into some stuff. But that's what I think on that part of it.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, I think we're going to see, of course, your Yoshi and your Kirby game. I think those are going to be the big spotlights. I think they're going to be the first games that are going to be coming out this year, the first big Nintendo titles.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to see what would it be, Pikmin 4. They've been supposed to be working on that for a couple years now.
It's been done since 2015.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we're going to see that. Nintendo is going to want to fill out the year like they did this year with at least a big title every other month, if not every month. I believe that we're probably going to see that wonderful 101 remaster or remake port, whatever it is, just like they did with Bayonetta. Maybe even a Captain Toad. I think they're going to want to try to bring a couple more Wii U ports over because they were really good titles on the Wii U that kind of got lost in translation. Basically, I just think that Nintendo's going to spotlight those. And, I really think that the title of the big three that you guys mentioned that we're probably going to see this year will be Metroid. I think that that'll probably be our holiday game. But I think Pokemon will be a spring of 2019 game. And I think Bayonetta will probably come out in February of next year.
Okay. I think of the solid predictions. I just want to say this one thing, right, for the fanboys who have hope of everything in 2018. Zelda, Mario, and Xenoblade, right? All big AAA single-player games came out within 9 months of each other.
Yeah.
Like, there were people who bet money against me that Xenoblade would not come out in 2017.
Oh, yeah.
But it did. And I think they even rushed it. They didn't even need to come out with that game. So, personally, I just think that suggests to me that Nintendo is on a different level in terms of their pipeline of games that are coming out. So yeah. I'm a bit more optimistic as to the kind of games they could bring out this year.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think your predictions are definitely realistic. We'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just didn't want to go I'd love to go full kilt and say, we're going to get Metroid, Pokemon, and Bayonetta all this year.
I wouldn't bet. I want that to happen, and I have a part of me thinks it could, but I also won't bet money on it either. Yeah.
Hit up the prop bets, man.
Yeah.
Like it's, oh, go ahead.
No, I just want to say that the whole Pokemon thing, right? Like, I kind of agree with Brandon that game could be ready, but there's a rumor that says that Pokemon Company, after seeing Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, they really want to take it to another level with that game. And if that's the case, I find it incredibly unrealistic to think that the game's coming out in 2018, if that rumor is true.
Yeah.
Pokemon's not your run-of-the-mill game. I mean, they always do it big, so to speak. I mean, pretty much each generation has pretty much maxed out the capabilities of the system that they were on. And I mean, with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I mean, they got to the point where I don't think they could have squeezed out any more juice out of the 3DS.
The new 3DS was having some trouble with parts of that game.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a really good point, actually. Like, people look at Pokemon Company and Game Freak and say they don't push the boundaries. It's not so much they don't push the boundaries. It's just they're always on weak hardware.
Yeah.
So with the Switch, maybe they will push the boundaries. But looking at Pokemon Company's history, Game Freak's history, I think what may happen is we may get a game that won't be pushing the boundaries that much, but the next game will. Like the next generation.
Yeah.
Which there definitely will be another generation within the Switch, because they always do a new generation like every 2.5 to 3 years.
Yeah.
With a huge leap in hardware like that, I think it'd be hard for them to, their first foray into the HD system to max out,
Well, I mean, they have history. I mean, yes, Gale of Darkness and the one that was on the Wii, those weren't huge games, but they were open world sort of RPGs. So, I mean, they do have a understanding of how those systems work. They just have to find a way to put pen to paper and get that to the system. I do think when we saw X and Y, that was a major transition on the 3DS compared to Heart Gold and Soul Silver on the regular DS. So I'm hoping we'll see a transition much like that, rather than Ruby and Sapphire to Diamond and Pearl, which were pretty much close to the same.
Yeah. I mean, Pearl and Diamond added 3D modeled houses. That was his big jump.
Sprites that moved constantly. That was another thing.
Oh gosh.
And then Generation 5, they still use sprites, but they put them in a semi 3D blank space with a little circle under them. So it looked cool. The games have always looked cool. They've just always been really conservative graphically.
Yeah. They use those awesome scaling techniques in Gen 5, I believe it was.
Yeah. I was gonna say, some of the games I think that could possibly come out this year. I don't personally think it's gonna be a Nintendo dominated year. I've heard people say it might be the same as 2017 was. I highly doubt that. I think if anything, this is gonna be the year of third party. It has to be, because since everyone sees how well the Switch has been selling, now everybody wants to jump on board. You got NIS America. The rumor is that they're going to bring Ys 8, to the Switch, which they put on the Vita and the PS4. I have it on the PS4. They sent me a review code for it. It's an amazing game.
It is.
I just think the market for it would be better on the Switch, and I think they're looking at that. The Trails in the Sky series isn't that possibly coming to the Switch?
Yeah, Trails of Cold Steel, which is a spiritual successor in the same series.
Yeah, so we have that. We got the announcement of Valkyria Chronicles 4, which that was kind of unexpected when Sega dropped that announcement. So that I feel like will sell more on the Switch than it would on anything else, and I think we might see, in my opinion, possibly even the Yakuza series could possibly come to the Switch, because in Japan on the Wii U there was a Yakuza game that was exclusive to them. But I believe it was the same one that came out on PS3 at the time. But I think we could see that. Definitely Bethesda's going to have more games. I believe we'll possibly see Fallout 4 coming this year.
Maybe we'll get a Beyond Good and Evil for Switch announcement.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
You sent my mind in a weird path because you mentioned Yakuza, and I heard Wii, so I was thinking, oh, Red Steel. And I was like, oh, Ubisoft making games for Nintendo. Oh, Beyond Good and Evil. Oh, Nintendo Switch. 2018, maybe Beyond Good and Evil for Switch.
Oh, man.
Nice.
It could definitely happen because, I mean, think about how well the collaboration they did with the Mario plus Rabbids.
That went really well. From what I
Excellent.
heard,
Excellent game.
And I can see some other games coming too. Like, even though Devil's Third was not that great on the Wii U, was it Tomonobu Itagaki? Like, he really wants to be all in with Nintendo now. So I could see something else coming to the Switch.
I mean,
Dragon's
the Switch
Dogma.
That's from Capcom, right?
Yeah, that's been rumored.
You know what? Port. I like that idea because that's a game that bombed and they lost so much money on, and the Switch could be an opportunity for it. But I do think they probably gonna need to do some, improvements to the game. Like if it's just a straight port, I think it's a bad idea. I think they need to do some things to really hype us up for it.
Yeah.
Now, is the one on Xbox? And I'm not a Dragon's Dogma fan. I never got into it, but is the one on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox, is that a remaster or is that a port or something? It's a port. So did they fix anything with it, or is it just literally just like an up-res port?
Up-res, and I believe some glitches they were able to take care of, but for all intents, there's better netcode. I know that. But other than that, that's just about it.
So, I mean, in theory, they could port that newer version, scale it to the Switch, in theory, like they did with Resident Evil Revelations 2.
Yeah, I'd like to see Resident Evil 7 maybe come to Switch, actually.
Yeah,
that would be...
But maybe, have, an additional... Actually, there was some DLC. I haven't looked into it yet, because I still haven't played Resident Evil 7. But maybe it comes with all DLC. I think there should be a Leon S. Kennedy mode, because I know a lot of Nintendo fans have a good connection with Leon S. Kennedy from Resident Evil 4 back on the GameCube. I know I have a good connection with that character. So Definitely. I would like to see, if they do bring it over, maybe a Leon S. Kennedy DLC campaign within it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that could definitely happen. I think, especially Capcom, with the whole Street Fighter Anniversary Collection, you've got the both the Mega Man Legacy Collection and the X Collections coming. I think we're also possibly going to see, and I'm throwing, this is purely speculation, but I think we might see a revival of Mega Man Legends. I think we might see a Legends collection.
That's
in the same year. In the same year as this new Mega Man is coming out.
It could be because they're dropping all the legacy for the original Mega Man titles and the X. It could be, possibly, or if not, maybe 2019.
Maybe. I mean, I think Capcom has seen what Nintendo has done with releasing their old retro games and see how they sell so well, right? And Sonic's done the same thing with Sonic Mania. So Capcom, with the Street Fighter announcement and the Mega Man announcement, they could really look, we have retro games. People love them. Let's give it to them. And it takes minimal effort. There's not much work that needs to be done with them.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah. I mean, it seems like Capcom, their MO is, taking things as slow and steady as possible, and they're kind of skulk around and see how the market's going, and if things look good, give them a couple months and then they'll hop in. Whereas some companies like Bethesda, Ubisoft, and Koei Tecmo, they jumped in head first, and they've really benefited from that. So we'll see what happens, but I definitely think Capcom's very bullish at this point.
Which also reminds me, we're going to get Wolfenstein 2 on the Switch. And from what I heard, the sales for Wolfenstein 2 weren't as stellar as the company wanted. But on the Switch, it has an opportunity to really cut some losses there.
Yeah.
I plan on getting it on Switch. We'll see how things pan out with the exact release date for it and how it is. But I might get it on Switch.
I think it's from the last time I spoke to one of the PR people, it's close. Let's just say it's close.
I mean, it's supposed to be an early 2018 title, right?
Yeah.
It could even have a bit of a focus during the direct.
Yeah. That reminds me. When we're done with the podcast, I'll send something to you and Brandon so y'all can get a review copy of that.
Cool.
Oh.
Yeah. Cool.
So the other thing I was thinking too that we could possibly see if Capcom wanted to make a lot of money, bring Power Stone Collection 1 and 2. People
read my mind, man. You read my mind.
Power Stone Collection, possibly bring back what else did they have that they could bring? Rival Schools, or even like a Marvel. Like, I know there's a speculation about the versus Capcom collection with all of them, which I don't think is impossible, given Disney owns almost all the franchises now. They could easily do so,
Yeah. Or, I mean, even 1 and 2 would be great. I mean, I'd be happy with that. For sure. I mean, they do have a great history that they could dig into. And, I mean, we've seen SNK. I mean, they dug into the Neo Geo collection. And, I mean, they're making a ton on those games. So,
yeah.
So you guys know that they're making SNK is actually supposed to be making something for the Switch.
Yeah, I heard about that. I don't really know what
King of Fighters.
So.
I could see King of Fighters probably. That's their big one right now that they release pretty not annually, but like every couple of years they release a King of Fighters game. 14 I think was the recent one.
Can I tell you guys a game to not buy on the eShop?
What's that?
Hopefully you can see it on my screen. Red Game Without a Name. Do not buy it. It is $2.99, and I thought it would be really cool. But it's actually a touchscreen only game. Yeah, you can only play it in handheld mode. And it's not worth $3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not worth $3.
Dang, roast.
Right. I mean, like, yeah, it's hard, but it's also hard because
that game
feels weird. Not because it's like very well designed, I think.
Yeah. There's those games. Of course, there's people on the internet who just tell you to get good, but I mean, when it's the controls' fault, that just pisses me off. I mean, I can't deal with
It's
that.
not that I couldn't beat it. I just didn't like it.
Just not a good
yeah,
game.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sorry to interrupt you. I was just
no, go ahead.
Yeah. It's just that for touchscreen only games, it's like the first touchscreen only game I've played on Switch. It's just weird holding the Switch and having to touch at the same time because the way the game's designed, at least, right? Like maybe if I'm not saying you can't design a good touchscreen game for the system. I'm just saying the way it was designed, like you're supposed to drag your character, creating a line, and it goes in that direction. And you have to go from one point of the screen to another. That's sort of weird as they're holding the system. Like it just wasn't, the ergonomics of it were awkward. And on top of that, I thought the Switch screen was multi-touch, right? It is multi-touch. This game,
it is.
For whatever
it's 10-point multi-touch.
Yeah.
This game, for whatever reason, is not multi-touch. So sometimes if my thumb or hand was accidentally touching the screen, I wouldn't be able to move the character at all. So, yeah, this game is not properly optimized. They did not think about the ergonomics, and it's just not fun. So, just, public service announcement, do not buy Red Game Without a Name for $2.99 on the Nintendo Switch eShop.
Buy Night Terrors instead for $3. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's $2.99, and that is an actually really fun game.
Yeah, it's a horror. I'm assuming it's a horror game, right?
No, it's actually funny. It's Flappy Bird, but you play as a knight, and you literally go. It's an endless runner, and you just hit things and jump over things. But it's really addicting, man. It's a Nicalis game.
Oh,
definitely recommend that if you're going to spend $3. Yeah, definitely highly recommend it.
Probably better than the one I just talked about.
Yes, it's definitely sounds better than that. It's in the same vein as like I said, Flappy Bird. that same kind of, you just keep tapping it, and it's not a touchscreen only game. But getting back to the touchscreen only, Severed uses which is made by can't think of the name, the company that made Guacamelee. It was their next game. It's not super massive, is it? I can't. Anyways, their game was called Severed, and it's completely touchscreen only. And
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's the main character's a girl, right?
Yes, she's a girl, and she has a severed arm, and
it's very colorful and artistic.
Yes, it's in the same kind of vein as like Guacamelee. It's got that really like old Spanish style, like conquistador style, and it's really a beautiful game. But you actually use your finger as your weapon, and you actually have to attack the enemies based on their patterns of movement, and you use your finger kind of like a Fruit Ninja sort of.
Huh. Yeah, I saw that. I never give it a try though. How much? Do you know how much it is on the eShop?
I think it's $14.99.
Okay.
$15.
Okay. Sounds about right. I know another really good one if you guys are into like bullet hell Contra style shooters. Bleed. That game was a surprise to me because when I saw the trailer for it and when the company reached out like, oh, you want to review it? I was like, sure. In the back of my head, I'm like, this is not going to be good. That game, I was hooked. I literally 5 hours straight just played it.
Oh, my gosh.
That game is so good. And it's cheap, too. I think it's on sale right now. It's like $6 or something.
Oh, that's
it's really good for a twin stick shooter.
So, and that's a top down?
No, side scroller, kind of like Contra.
Oh, it's a side scroller. Oh, yeah. Nice.
Kind of like check that out. This other game, Guns, Gore, and Cannoli is really good.
Oh,
yes, I love that
game.
game.
It's cool,
dude. That is one of my favorite games, like on the system right now. I played it on the PS4 a time ago, but it's so hilarious. Just some of the stuff they say on there. It's all like mafiosa, like stereotypes and stuff like that.
Oh man. All right. So Shinobu brought it up in the comments, but do you guys think that Sega will bring Phantasy Star Online 2 Cloud to the West?
I really don't. I think that the Phantasy Star market dried up in the U.S. with the original Xbox and GameCube. So, I mean, that's the long and short of it.
Yeah. Honestly, I've heard of Phantasy Star Online. I have no idea how the gameplay is. I have no idea what that game is.
That game could have been huge back on the Dreamcast if it didn't fail. Like, if the Dreamcast panned out, it could have been a huge franchise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you with Joshua. I don't know. I don't really know how much of an interest there is for that game right now. Like, the marketing would have to be pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, too, since this, isn't it the way they have it all set up, it's all cloud infrastructure, too. So, and I don't think, I don't know, like, I agree. I don't think there's really a market for fantasy. I feel like that ship sailed. If anything, I could see if they're able to do it, I think, and Jonesy, you probably know the game I'm going to talk about. It's on Xbox and PS4 and PC. It's kind of like Destiny, but it was Destiny
Warframe.
Yes.
Oh, I have that on my PC. It's cool.
That would do well on the Switch. I just don't know if they can pull it off.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I don't know. I don't think, as far as graphics go, it's not that intensive.
It could probably scale.
Yeah, I could probably scale it pretty. I mean, it's if you go look at the recommended specs, they're not that high. So, I mean, it wouldn't be too terribly hard as far as graphics go. I don't know about any other aspects, but I don't think it'd be that hard.
No.
Question:
the game looks good, but it's not like super good.
So, you guys have heard of PUBG? I'm sure, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Like
played it last night.
No, I just looked at gameplay for it like a night or two ago. It looks interesting. Like I heard some murmurings. I didn't look too much into it, but like is there a possibility that comes to Switch? Like, what's that? How's that exclusivity for Microsoft working?
How?
I don't think I want to see it on the Switch. I mean,
I don't even want to see it on the original Xbox.
Yeah, man.
The Xbox One X doesn't even run it that well.
Yeah,
it's a mess.
PC it's pretty hard on everything. Yeah. Like, it's just one of those games where it's like a CPU like nightmare, apparently.
Right. So
console CPUs at the moment are not that good.
I did not watch a review for it. I just saw one like Let's Play live stream of it. So basically, what is it like? So it's a giant, basically third person shooter, right? But it's like the worlds are open. It's like an online open world with almost 100 players, like
Hunger Games.
Yeah, it's like the Hunger Games.
And the map slowly closes in, over time. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's something that if it could make run on Switch, the sales would be obscenely good.
Oh, for real? It doesn't have to run on Switch. The sales would be good. That game sells, and it doesn't even run good on anything.
Yeah, man. It's
sold like 10 million copies, and half the people who play it can't get it over like 20 frames per second.
What if they ported it and it was 540p, 30 frames per second docked, and like 480p,
like
20 frames per second?
3 frames per second.
Dude, so what? Yeah. It's like 12 frames per second on the original Xbox.
Yeah, man. Well, if you shut your broadcasting off, you can get it up to like 20 something. It's like
20 something. You don't say.
It does better. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little, not damage control, but I will say this:
damage control.
So when you originally load in, so the second patch just came through on the Xbox. So when you land in, during the first patch and when the game launched, very, very bad frames. I mean, we're talking 15 frames per second. Now, I think what it was doing was, yes. Now, I think what it was doing. Now, at this point, you're not playing anything. You're parachuting in. So you're parachuting in, and it's very slow and wonky. By the time you land and you start moving around, everything bumps up to about probably 25 to 30 frames per second. I wouldn't say it hits 30 frames often, but I would say that it's around the 25 to 30 frames per second mark. It plays pretty smooth. Now, I mean, you'll have like rubber banding issues here and there. But from what I have friends that play with me that play on the original Xbox, not even the S, and I play on the X, and they shut their broadcasting off, and that seems to help a lot. So, I think it's one of those games where it's fun in spite of all its flaws. I mean, I think that's one of the things that kind of people were talking about with Xenoblade, where, or Zelda. It's like, yeah, sure, it has frame rate issues. Yeah, sure, it has this problem. But at the end of the day, it's still fun. And as long as it's playable, that's what matters.
No, I totally agree with you. But I've heard some people bring up the Breath of the Wild comparison. And, like, from what I'm hearing about PUBG, like, the Breath of the Wild frame rate issue is incredibly minimal. Like, especially by comparison. Like, there are some sections where you could notice frame rate. Right, but that's it. Like, from what you're saying about PUBG, like it's not even close. Xenoblade might be a slightly closer comparison because there are some more glaring issues in terms of graphics and performance. But like, yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you though that the concept of the gameplay is more important than anything else.
Yeah, and I mean it is a game preview game. I mean, let's emphasize that. I mean, we are paying for I paid for a unproven, unreleased game, basically.
Yeah. My problem with it is just that I don't know. It's a great concept. I love the concept, and it looks fun to play. It just has so many issues. And then you got people who are praising it, like left and right. It's this just gloriously amazing game. It sells 10 million copies, and it's not a bad game for sure. But it's not that it's not that good. It really isn't. It's really not that special. Like, there's other games that have come out afterwards that do the same thing now that are doing it better. Sure, it was one of the first ones to do that, but now that people are seeing this concept, there are already people doing it better than PUBG is, at least in my opinion. So yeah, Fortnite, in my opinion, that's a much better version of that type of game. So I don't know, people seem to hail it as this just amazing game. Like, you'll see companies giving it 10 out of 10s on the Xbox One. It's just like, no, it almost literally was in the runnings for Game of the Year, and it's not even out. It's super buggy, and the frame rate can get really bad. And it's a competitive shooter. Like, I think the difference between this and like Zelda and Xenoblade is those are RPGs and, you know, open world adventure games. This is an online competitive shooter where,
slash open world.
Yeah, slash open world game where, you know, one mistake and
With
you're out of the round. You die, you just have to restart. Like, it's really competitive. Like, everything matters a lot, especially when you get into those big firefights. The frame rate goes down. That can really, really harm your chances of getting through that. So I feel like in that case, it's less forgivable than something like Xenoblade, where you're standing and pressing buttons to kill an enemy. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's kind of funny, just because I've only been killed in a firefight. Like, I've probably played it a total of like 20 times, and I've probably only been killed in a firefight maybe 6 times. Like, you're killed in those games more by the elements, by getting caught with your pants down, so to speak. You know, getting caught out in the open when a storm hits, or not making it to the safe zone in time, you know, or like I got ran over just because, you know, like, people like be driving by and you'll get ran over. But I mean, it's, you know, I understand where you guys are coming from, and I was skeptical of the game too. I really was. My buddy convinced me to buy it. I bought it. And it's just really fun. I've had a lot of fun with it. I don't think it's a special game by any means, but it's definitely not a bad game.
It's very popular though.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to get a match, and, you know, some of the people on there like are doing crazy stuff, you know, like just very creative things, like chucking grenades at cars as they run by. And, you know, it's just one of those games where you can have an organic good time. And I really think that, yeah, it sucks that was in the running against Zelda. And I mean, I understand you guys are Nintendo guys, and it won. I mean, it should have definitely won over PUBG, but it's great to see a game that people can have organic good times on it. And I'm glad that idea is permeating the industry more, because we need more situations like that. Less loot boxes, more organic good times.
Sure. And totally, I think, definitely, I think that if they go and fix these issues, like, it could be a really, really great game. Like, at its core, it's a really fun game with a great concept and some great mechanics. At the same time, when you see reviewers giving it 10 out of 10s, and you see it just selling it crazy as it is,
I don't agree with that.
what company at this point, they've sold 10 million copies. People are giving it raving reviews for I think unjustly. And what company's going to be like, oh yeah, we totally need to go back and fix all these major issues? No, most of them are just like, okay, it's selling, whatever, just leave it as it is. Like, no, start. Like, don't just sit back and take, you know, like, kind of this kind of performance. Don't do that, guys. Stop and think about what you're doing right now. You're promoting games to be released broken and buggy with bad frame rates. Like, at the same, like, I'm not saying nobody should buy this or they should give it like terrible reviews, but don't be over there like raving about it with 10 out of 10s and just eating it up on all this stuff. Like, if the game has problems, point out the problems, have them fix the problems, then you can have an even better game. Don't just praise it as this just absolute perfectionist of a game when it's definitely not.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I definitely agree. And I mean, it's been out for a month and like a couple days, and they've already released 2 major patches for it. It seems, and that's for the Xbox, of course, but it seems like they really are like taking consideration in, hey, this game has issues. We need to fix these issues. So I'm hopeful in that area.
Yeah, well, good on them then, because like a lot of companies, would not. They would just sit back and be like, okay, we're done. We're good.
Count the check.
Right? Start
Yeah.
counting all the cash. Just
got stacks, man. Hit the money machine.
It's totally true.
I'm hoping that when I don't know if you guys are familiar with the game Crazy Justice, which is coming to the Switch, which is going to be similar in style to PUBG. I'm hoping it does not have the same type of performance issues, because I backed that game and I'm hoping. I'm praying it doesn't have those issues, but I mean, the PUBG formula has been such a money maker. I mean, there's another game that I actually like. I'm not sure if you guys are on Keymailer, but I got a request to review, and it's Until None Remain, which is basically a high resolution looking PUBG, and it's like that formula. I feel like is the new modern Call of Duty. Like it's
I am also reviewing that game.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
We need to play sometime.
I do.
So
yeah, I think, like I said, I mean, I think it's a really cool genre. The battle royale genre itself is really interesting, and I'm very positive and bullish on the genre and where it goes.
It's kind of funny. I remember when Twilight Princess came out, I used to kind of fantasize about like an MMO Zelda multiplayer. Like, imagine like you had this giant Hyrule field, right? You had 2 Hyrule-like castles on each side, and you had multiple links, like 4 sword style, except way more, right? And you fight each other. Like, it's about sieging each other in real-time third-person action and just fighting, getting on horses and boars and like, kind of like a Lord of the Rings sort of style, which is what Twilight Princess is inspired by. Like that would be pretty cool. Maybe I don't think we'll be able to see anything like that, in the PUBG kind of style, right? Like probably not until like in the 2020s. Like we might need like a Switch 3, before the system's powerful enough for it to run well. But that would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be amazing, especially since, like, I've always wanted to get into MMOs, but every time I get into it, I just get bored by the actual, like, fighting mechanics of it. Like, it's, like, cool world, like, cool that I can go around and do all this stuff with people, but I just don't like...
You want real-time.
The battle mechanics. Yeah, I want real-time action. Not that I, always have to have real-time, like... I like games that are RPGs as well, and I like games like Xenoblade, which is kind of like a mix between RPG elements and real time. So I'm not completely just like only real time action for me, but I don't know, the MMOs are so slow. They're so slow.
Actually, I saw that Power Level Amy was talking about a Pokemon MMO made in the style of Final Fantasy 11. What's really interesting is that as I was playing through Xenoblade 2, right, and hearing about all the Pokemon rumors, I was thinking, like, what if they kind of implemented the Xenoblade system into the Pokemon engine, right? Like, and that's how combat was, like, in real time, and your moves were, like, done through real-time arts. You still have all the Pokemon battling mechanics, but, like, done in that way. And then, of course, MMO style, right? Like, Xenoblade's already, like, the open-world style, but just make it with tons of actual real players. Like, that would be incredible.
I think that would send a shockwave through the Pokemon fans.
Oh, there'd be so many people would be happy, and then so many people would be upset.
Yeah,
and
man.
By Pokemon fans,
great divide.
And by Pokemon fans, not just people who play Pokemon now, but the people who say Pokemon, all the people, every person that has ever had a slight interest in these creatures, right? Like every person who's played Pokemon Go will be like, I have to buy that. It would 100 million confirmed.
I mean, just take the format of Xenoblade Chronicles X open world, add in the MMO elements, make it Pokemon. That'll print money.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Definitely.
It would be sad to see the turn-based system go because, I mean, Pokemon is unfortunately the last of the holdouts for the old style JRPG.
I mean, I'm a competitive Pokemon player, like legitimately. I love that style, but if you based off the rumors, they could make it real time, maybe.
Yeah, no doubt.
The turn-based part of it is not necessarily the part of it that I love. I don't hate it. It makes sense, right? But like all the other mechanics, the typing, the move combinations, and like I don't want to see that go. So I don't know. Maybe they could still do like turn-based. Like they could still have a turn-based Pokemon game and still be an MMO. It's just an MMO, when you're exploring, but actual battles are still turn-based.
Yeah. No, I would dig that for sure.
Yeah. Either way, I would give it a shot. So
yeah, exactly. I'm probably gonna buy it anyway. So I mean,
right. My dream Pokemon game it's just like a big open world MMO like kind of thing. You go around, and when you battle people, it's kind of like I don't know, kind of a Pokken tournament style battles, like kind of real time with Pokemon just going at it and destroying people, but you're running around open world. I just want a Pokken tournament. Please make Pokemon Tournament 2 with an open world. Like, just give me that. I'll be happy.
Cool. That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's so unfortunate, but I want it to happen. No.
Yeah, when I saw Pokken Tournament, like, I remember when the first, like, image came out before it was Pokken Tournament. Like, we had no idea what it was. Like, it looked like the most amazing thing. And I was disappointed I found out that it was just a fighting game. A great fighting game that I put in, like, 200 hours into. But, yeah. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we've heard about those Unreal Pokemon rumors. What if, like, the next Pokemon, we actually see Charizard have, like, scales? That'd be cool.
That'd be
That'd be really cool.
I don't know. I feel like even if they use the Unreal Engine, they'll still use, like, cel-shaded graphics, but...
I'm sure it'll probably still kind of look like Pokken Tournament, like, where I don't know if they'll necessarily have like scales and they'll have like a realistic look to them, but I think they'll just have like that smooth look from like sort of like a modern anime look.
Okay, I was thinking because I remember, I don't know if you guys played the Pokemon Battle Revolution on the Wii, but like that game was really cool to watch on YouTube because you could just watch like online battles, and it looked really good. The game itself was bad. But the battles themselves were cool.
Oh, that was like the what the heck was that called? Pokemon Stadium, basically for Wii, correct?
Right, but it didn't have rentals. It didn't have mini games. Yeah. It was really clunky, and the way it was all set up. But the battles themselves were really cool. I would like to see a stadium-like style fighting environment in the next Pokemon game.
Yes, that would be so awesome. I can't believe they never did that. Like, I mean, they were getting to that like with the most recent generations. I mean, there was a lot more like effects work, especially with the moves, but they just need to go to that next level, man. They're taking half steps. They need to just jump in or dive in, take a risk.
I don't know, there's so many different ways they could handle a Pokemon game. We're all going to buy it regardless, but I think they have a huge opportunity to get a lot of non-Pokemon players. Like Brandon is not a big Pokemon player. Mekel, I don't think you're a big Pokemon player either.
I've only played Pokemon Stadium 1 on the N64. I loved it to death. Like,
great
awesome.
Game.
Yeah. It was amazing, but it's not that I didn't want to get the other Pokemon games. I did. It was just I never really had the... I don't know. When I was younger and I had the systems that they were coming out for, I didn't buy my own video games. My parents bought all of them, and they just never got me Pokemon. So
same here.
It just never happened. Like, and I was gonna get Pokemon Sun and Moon, but then they're like, "Oh, Pokemon Star is coming out next year." And I was like, "Well, just gonna wait for the Switch version, obviously."
Yeah.
And nope, that didn't happen. So hopefully it comes out next year, and I can actually play my first mainline Pokemon game.
I think it's gonna be a good entry.
Love it, man. I think it's
you're
gonna love it.
For you. Yeah, I mean, if you like Xenoblade, and after I got you into anime, like I feel like you're just gonna.
AndresRestart's over here just getting me cultured, apparently.
Like I got him into anime. Like he loves it now. He was messaging me the other day. He was like, "Hey, can we have an anime segment on the podcast now?" I was like,
"I'm so into anime now.
Maybe.
It's like my favorite form of television."
Yeah. What was the anime that you got him into?
Full Metal
Alchemist Brotherhood.
Oh,
it's so
Yeah.
good.
Nice.
It's so good.
wait, you didn't
I
watch
just
the
felt like-
original? You went
No.
straight to Brotherhood?
He
Oh.
recommended Brotherhood, so I watched that one.
Yeah, I felt like Brotherhood. It's a very 64 episodes. It's it has a good clear beginning to end. Just a good complete story. Not a lot of animes or stories in general have a good beginning to end, complete full circle story that you'll watch it and actually be satisfied.
Mhm.
So I felt like that was a good entry point for him, and apparently I got him hooked.
No, I
Yeah.
completely agree. The only thing I think the original FMA did better than Brotherhood was the emotion. Like, it felt like super dreary at times, like hopeless in the original. But I feel like they kind of just went. I mean, because the direction they went in the original FMA from 2003 was they did that because they were so far ahead of the anime. I mean, the manga, I believe. But Brotherhood, Brotherhood's good. I still say go watch the other.
Yeah, I might go back and watch the original version as well. I don't know, Brotherhood. I don't know. The pacing was really good. It did feel like very emotional. Like I was very emotional when watching that. Just like, oh my gosh, all the crazy crap, especially in the beginning, like third of the show is just like, holy crap, that's messed up, man. What's happening? Why?
I was gonna say that. Wait, where are you at in it so far?
I finished it. I beat it. I
You beat it.
beat it.
It's an RPG.
Yeah.
Any anime, you pretty much beating it.
So I finished that, and then I went on to Attack on Titan,
Heck
which
yeah,
I
man.
did not realize was not complete. I thought it was all the way done.
No, sorry.
Oops.
No.
I got to the end of the second season. Was like on to the third season. Oh, okay.
What's a good anime that has a good beginning to end that's like complete? There's obviously.
I don't know, but I binge, man. It's just like I binge. Just watch like 6 episodes in a row. So
Netflix 2.0.
Yu Yu Hakusho.
dude.
You know what?
I watch it all on Crunchyroll. But
I did not like the final arc of Yu Yu Hakusho.
Me
I
either.
never
hated
finished
that
it.
one.
I never finished it, so
Right.
maybe I was lucky.
Well, I didn't finish the final arc, and that was the thing. I heard about some things, and like apparently one of the main characters is not even in the final arc. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything. It's just kind of like,
yeah,
why?
I actually just bought the first 3 seasons on Blu-ray, and I bought Tenchi Muyo too, as well.
Tenchi Muyo is the one that's like it's a harem anime, I think technically, where it's surrounded by girls.
Yes.
That's one I saw as a kid. Now I know the name. You helped me remember that name because I saw it as a kid, but I did not remember the name. So
you
now
know how
I know.
long I searched for that thing, man? I just found it like
what were you
3 nights
Googling?
ago.
Show about dude with spirit power that has girls around him.
No, I was like, dude, girls make his life miserable but happy at the same time. It was like most modern families.
Oh gosh. Too true.
But no, it just
Muyo.
actually, you know what's funny? It actually just popped up the other night. I was on a list on Amazon, and it popped up, and I was like, man, that looks familiar. And I clicked it, and I was like, son of a gun, that's it. That's exactly what I was looking for. And sure enough, I did, ordered the first couple seasons.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm too completely broke to order anything. I just watch it all on Crunchyroll and SD. I'm like, it's anime. It's harder to tell. It's just a simple art style. It looks fine. So
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, I would like to get a Crunchyroll subscription. I probably should. I most definitely would use it,
Yeah.
but
if you watch it in standard
Yes.
definition, it's completely free. And I was just like,
oh, for real?
yeah, I wish Netflix did that. Gosh.
Yeah,
So many
I mean,
shows I wanna
but
watch.
HD always matters.
It's true.
I
feel like
I watch mine in
Netflix,
4K now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I feel like Netflix
Crunchyroll.
would be more annoying.
Yeah. And the thing about Netflix that I have a problem with, I love Netflix, by the way. I just finished watching 13 Reasons Why. If you consider the whole controversy about Logan Paul and suicide and such, it might be a good watch. But great series. But yeah. But the anime section in Netflix, while they do show some good anime, they also show some bad ones. And also all the anime that is on Netflix is incomplete. Like they don't, even if they're available, you can't watch them on Netflix. Like
that's how I got into Attack on Titan.
Yeah. Attack on Titan is not complete though, so I think it's okay. But like there are bigger, like a Hunter x Hunter, for example. Didn't
they just remove that from Netflix?
Did they remove Hunter x Hunter?
Yeah,
that was a mistake. That was a mistake.
I was watching it on there, and then when I went to go watch it a couple weeks ago, it was gone. But it's on. I think it's on Crunchyroll. But
yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw it when I was scrolling through because I'm currently watching My Hero Academia. Before I was watching it, I was scrolling. Yeah, it's really good. I was scrolling through to see what I want, and I think I saw it. I think I saw it there. So I think it's on Crunchyroll now.
Yeah, Hero Academia I think is like the best like new generation anime, right? Like I think it's like people are coining it as like the true like next Naruto in the sense that like it has that huge cult following. It's modern, and I like the style they're doing with it because the thing is, if you watch like anime as they're ongoing, you suffer what we call filler, and it's terrible.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Goku and Piccolo going to get driver's license.
Yes. Oh my God. That was actually a funny episode, but still.
It's funny, but it sucks when you get that for 2 years straight. Like with Naruto, like I was watching Naruto when it was ongoing, and there's like this huge like epic fight between Naruto and Sasuke, the main character. He splits off, and you don't see what happens for 2 years. It's literally the story does not continue for 2 straight years, but they still create episodes.
Good God.
Yeah,
like
so
terrible.
It's like the whole thing with Bleach where they had that whole
the Bounto arc.
Oh,
the Bounto arc, yeah. Trash.
I feel
trash. Like they reset his powers, so he's basically trash the entire season. It's like, what? You progress so much, so now you're bad again? And they don't even give you a good explanation for it. Like, yeah.
They do that a lot, man. Yeah, they have those tropes.
That reminds me of everyone who's crying out for Mega Man Legends 3.
Oh, God.
It's like, well,
how long has it been?
Right? How long has it been since they were going to make that game?
They were going to make it. I mean, they had it planned, and then what's his name?
They had like a demo and everything as well.
Yeah, and then it just they fell apart, and it is what it is. We got Mighty Number 9.
Oh,
enjoy
yay,
it. It's better than nothing. Be happy.
Is it though? Is it better than nothing?
I feel like that game scarred people's lives.
It probably did.
I think because Kaiji Inafune did say that. He's like, at least you got something.
Now
I probably wouldn't play that game if somebody gave it to me for free. I wouldn't play that game.
Look, there are games you can buy and regret buying. Okay, like I told you guys about Red Game Without a Name. I wasted $3.
There are games you can play and regret the amount of time you wasted in your life.
But that's a good thing.
Is it?
Sort of.
It's a positive.
I feel like there's enough good. I feel like there's enough good things to be playing. I don't want to be playing anything that's not good. Like, I mean, with the Switch and the PS4 and the Xbox One, and the PC, all these amazing games coming out, and then you got TV, and you got movies. It's like there's too much stuff to be watching that's good. I ain't trying to waste my time with something that's not good.
We are in a golden age of entertainment for sure.
It's highly competitive. Like I was talking to these people. Like there's so many different platforms to watch good shows. Like, you got Hulu, Netflix. Okay, Amazon Prime's not that good, but there's some good stuff.
They are starting to get good content on there.
Crunchyroll. Now there's Verve, right? And of course, you have Stars, HBO. Like, it's the golden age. It truly is.
Yeah. Well, and two is like, Mekel and I always talk. Like I'm big into like the history of broadcasting on television back in like the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And what used to happen was boardroom executives used to make the decisions on what shows aired, what pilots aired. Now you have people who are like, let the content go. Like, instead of, hey, I have this great idea. Okay, well, we're going to take your idea. We're going to give it to some, attractive British man, and he's going to host your show. Instead, they say, here, this is your baby. We're going to let you take it and you go and make something great out of it. And people have so much passion for these projects and these TV shows that they actually have skin in the game. So they get out there and we get such a great product as consumers. And I think that's why we are in such a great golden age, is because there's so much passion projects out there. No matter if, they work for billion-dollar organizations or if it's little indie projects, there's just a lot of passion out there right now, and I'm loving every minute of it.
And to that point though, right? Like kind of bring this back to like YouTube a little bit. Like YouTube is also kind of like an avenue for people to grow independently, exactly. And we can present content in a completely different way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And of course, you have some YouTubers that get to the point where they can create like episodic, well produced series as well, like kind of like a skit or a rom-com or things like that. Like I would like to see. I mean, you see YouTube sort of do some of those things with YouTube Red, but I would like to see even more growth and more of that in the future. Like personally, as my channel grows, like obviously I have a passion for Nintendo, and I'm still going to probably cover the same stuff I'm covering now, but I would love to have like episodic series, like for example, I've always had this idea to like have like a cooking show, but like for video games, like imagine like Breath of the Wild style cooking.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Like, and I don't know if I told you guys, but I studied acting and film. And like I want to eventually introduce skits into my channel. Like I did like a Smash Brothers / Rocky parody like a year ago, and I haven't done one since because it's hard to produce content like that, like actual short films. Mm-hmm. But YouTube is a really good avenue to actually bring in stuff like that, and I think there's a huge future there to continue down this trend of people having these huge passion projects, as you were saying, Joshua.
Yeah, no,
for sure.
And this is literally what I was talking about the other night, and me and Power Level Amy were having a discussion on Twitter actually about it, and I was telling her like there's so many great content creators on YouTube that just deserve the spotlight, and I'm really glad that folks like you guys have a platform now, and it just really means a lot, and I'm just glad that we live in an era that we do where more people can reach the broader marketplace, and ideas, are sort of in competition with each other. But I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, the competition brings out the best, right? Like, it pushes you.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Keeps you from staying in the same rut, doing the same thing, and being content with producing the same level of content, quality, and the same types of things. If you have competition, you can be forced to push forward, think outside the box, keep making yourself better and better. And yeah, just like Andres was saying, he wants to do a bunch of like cool stuff on his channel, and I'm sure for a lot of people, and me included, like I really want to expand my channel. Like I want to do like testings of different things, like product testing. I want to start making my own music. I want to do all this stuff, and I want YouTube's such a great place to do it. I mean, once they get they have issues, of course, obviously.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
Obviously, they're not perfect. But at this point,
for Barney.
Oh my gosh, so true. But at this point, they seem to be the best option. So, and just being allowed to be on, and even doing what we're doing right now, and just like talking about what we love, about what our passion is.
Yeah.
I mean, this is our passion. We're doing it right now, and we get the privilege of being able to do this, and hopefully even to make enough to call it a job, to live off of. Just being on YouTube is like an insane thing. Like, I mean, just 10, 20 years ago, there's no way you could just talk into a camera, throw it up on the internet, and start making a living off of that if you get a big enough following. Like, it doesn't happen. It wasn't a thing. It didn't exist. So just to be in an age where that is possible, which is insane. It's so crazy. And I feel so like happy that is a reality. It's so cool.
I wonder if that will extend to gaming a little bit more, because I feel like more and more people are becoming more and more aware of like how to code, how to program, and it's becoming easier and easier to make a game nowadays. Like obviously you have the indie market. That I wonder if it'll ever get to the point where there's just so many games out there that people are making, like that people can literally just look up different games that people are making, like you look up different YouTubers that are making videos. It'll be interesting how that works out.
Yeah. I definitely think that's a realistic possibility. And I think with the indie markets well on PlayStation, on Switch, and even on Xbox, I mean, they're lesser known for it, but even their indie marketplace is doing very well. So, I mean, you're having that scenario where, I mean, now we're starting to enter the 32-bit era indie kind of games in the polygonal indie games that kind of reminiscent of like the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation era. So, I mean, they're obviously going to be a few generations in technology behind, but they're really fun experiences. I mean, I was just playing Raiden 5 the other night, and that's not a beautiful game. I mean, it's newer. It came out like last year, but it's a newish game, but it doesn't look that great, but it's just fun to play, That's what matters at the end of the day is if games are fun. And yes, you're going to have your Witcher 3s and your, Fallout 4s and your beautiful open world games that are 4K and they have the HDR that really, pops. But there's always going to be that place for really fun experiences that are made by people who are just passionate, like Tom Happ, with Axiom Verge. So, I really do think that we're seeing it now. That is such a good game. I cannot recommend that to you guys. I mean, you guys are big.
And I'm a huge Metroid fan. Huge.
Yeah, I'm like, I
literally was just streaming. I was just streaming Metroid Prime 2 before I came late into this discussion.
I just beat Metroid Prime last week on stream.
Yeah, but I also love 2D Metroid. It would be awesome.
You guys should play The Mummy Demastered.
Yes, that's amazing. Another good one too.
That's amazing.
And Steam World Dig too.
Yeah, I'm currently playing through Steam World Dig 1 at the moment because I got it free. One of my friends let me borrow their Steam account. You know how you can share it with different friends, share your whole Steam library. So I just took a bunch of games. I think Axiom Verge is on that, but I haven't started yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, as much as I am a Nintendo gamer, like as far as third party goes, I'm like total PC master race on third parties.
Oh man.
Like I ain't trying to play third party games under at least like 1440p 60 FPS. Like I ain't trying to do it.
I'm there with you right now.
Yeah. I mean, the Switch is great for those first-party experiences, or if I have a game that's like an indie game that I want to take on the go, perfect for that. Amazing. But for me, I go on the go a little bit, and it'd be okay for like smaller games. I love my TV, and I'm always at home. Like, I'm just always at home. I work at home. I live at home. Like, I sleep at home. I eat at home. Everything's at home. So I'm always here at my desk, and I'm just like, I'm going to play this in the best way possible. So as much as I'm a Nintendo, like, I love Nintendo. They're my favorite company. Third parties, it's all PC Master Race for me.
No, I feel you.
I sometimes like just sitting in my bed, kind of like cuddled up like a ball and having like a little screen right there next to me. Even if I could play it on the television, there's just something about like having it up close and personal and sort of like snuggling on a couch or something that you can't really get by having it on a giant monitor. So I still think there's room for that, even for the third parties that only come out for non-Nintendo platforms like Steam and such.
Yeah, I guess it all just depends on your personal preference at that point.
Yeah. No, I mean, I play in tabletop mode. That's my, like, when I take my Switch to work with me a lot. I either take my Switch or my Vita. I work for a well-known coffee company. I work in the roasting plant. And it's very chill atmosphere. Imagine like Facebook, but with coffee, and or Google with coffee, I should say. But a lot of people at work play their Switch and stuff like that. And we kind of just like prop it up in the kickstand and pop the Joy-Cons out and play it like that. Like out on the bench, out outside or in the cafeteria or whatever, and I just love that, man. I love the PS1 when they added the screen on it, the LCD screen. I still have mine. I mean, I thought that was a great idea, and I thought companies were going to do that. I was like, oh man,
I
this
remember
is gonna be the future.
The GameCube, there was like a GameCube add-on that you could put a screen on top of the GameCube.
Yeah.
And I always dreamed about doing that. And the irony is that now the Switch is like the perfected form of that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's go ahead, Mekel. No,
go
ahead, Mekel.
I was gonna say, like, I take my Switch with me to work at the the hospital that I work at, and I'm amazed at how many people like bring their Switches too, and then we'll have like Brawl Out. Like we'll all be together playing Brawl Out, and it's like, wow,
that's happened. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
That's really cool.
So,
yeah,
so it's an organic system.
It's very interesting, right? Because like when we first heard about the Nintendo Switch concepts from Eurogamer, I think most of us were a little. I was. I didn't think much of it. I wasn't excited about it, and. But
I wanted
once I saw the
powerful one.
Once Nintendo marketed the system and I saw their full vision, and now that we're seeing it in action, it makes a lot of sense because if you look at the way most companies are making games now, like either it's online multiplayer or it's like very cinematic single player games. But like what you were saying, Mekel, like the Switch is creating these opportunities to incorporate more local multiplayer. And that's something that I think is really underrated on the Switch. That's not something we really talk about that often. We might talk about the portability, but we don't talk about how the portability creates more local multiplayer situations.
Share the joy, man.
Which is really cool. Like
for me,
holiday,
like
you go.
Yeah, for me, I've always complained. Like as soon as they started dropping local multiplayer for online multiplayer, sure that opened up some cool possibilities. But I'm always one guy. I prefer local multiplayer. And so when I started like when Halo 5 came out and I couldn't play local multiplayer, I was just like, what is this crap? Why? And I mean, all these games, I'm just like, oh, cool. I get these cool games, cool multiplayer. I'm like, please have local multiplayer. And they never do. And then the Switch comes out, it's just local multiplayer. And I'm just like, that's so cool.
Except for Splatoon 2.
Yeah, except for Splatoon 2. But that's that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been nice. But yeah, other than that, pretty much all the multiplayer games have local multiplayer. So I don't know.
And I think that's something that I think that a lot of these AAA companies have been overlooking for so long with, making these online only multiplayer games. What happens in, 4 or 5 years when these servers go down? No one can play your games anymore. That's why I feel like local multiplayer and the portability of the Switch is such a huge factor. So,
yeah, that as well.
Definitely. Well, and too, is like they have advertised a lot of their games as being like those multiplayer experiences where you can share the joy, sit it down in the kickstand mode, pop off a Joy-Con, slide on the Joy-Con grips, hand it off, and you're good to go. Like you literally have a co-op experience right there, wherever you're at. And I really think that was a smart design choice. And going back to the original idea of the NX, like when I had heard rumors of it, and I actually listened to Kind of Funny, and they were talking about it. I was so hyped for it because I was like, I never bought a Nintendo system before other than the handhelds, and I was like, this is a Nintendo system that speaks to me because I love the Vita for the remote play factor that I can play my PS4 on my Vita, but I'm basically, chained to my Wi-Fi or my PS4. If I get too far away, it doesn't work. So the Switch would basically, or the NX at the time, the concept of it seemed to basically solve the whole cross-play and remote play.
Really awesome perspective. Because you're not necessarily a hardcore Nintendo fan, but you saw this concept and you were just like, I want that.
Yeah, I bought it day one. I mean,
that's awesome.
They didn't even have it. It's funny. You know how they said they didn't have any in Japan? Like it was harder to get them in Japan than they were in the United States. I actually couldn't get any here in the United States. So I actually ordered mine from Japan, and I actually have a Japanese system. Yeah, mine has. Yeah, my serial number is. Yeah, dude, try calling the Nintendo. Like I had a Nintendo card I got for my birthday that like when I scratched it off, the numbers, like the last 3 or 4 numbers scratched off. So I had to call and get the card activated to my account. And they were like, "What's your serial number for your Switch?" And I was like, "Okay, it's JP da da." And the guy's like, "Huh? JP?" I was like, "Yeah, I bought it from Japan, man." He's like, that's gonna make things difficult." I was like, "Why? It's region free." He's like, "Doesn't matter." He's like, "It's all based on where your region is." So that's a bit of tidbit information for everybody.
Were you able to get it done though?
Yeah, I had to use my 3DS actually.
Well,
what?
Yeah, man.
You still use it on your Switch though. You just put it on your account.
Yeah, I put it on my Nintendo account, and it
yeah.
works
Luckily,
either way.
they changed it to where it's not per the money isn't per system based; it's account based.
Yeah,
so much nicer.
So can we talk about the 5.0 update then?
Yeah.
You guys are reminding me because we're talking about like the whole network features and like, what do you guys think of that? Have you all seen the 5.0 update video? The supposed 5.0 update video.
I actually have
the
not,
leaked
but I've
one.
heard some things about it. I'm planning on watching it sometime.
It's
before tomorrow's podcast.
What I remember, it's like
cloud-based saves.
Cloud-based saves. You can create like online chat rooms. It looks like kind of like what we've been wanting from Nintendo about like communication features with your friends. You can themes. That's what I remember, and there's a few other virtual console supposedly there. All the streaming apps are apparently going to be there. Those are the main things I saw with it. Like basically everything we're asking for the Nintendo Switch operating system. Also, apparently you could even connect Bluetooth microphones and headsets as well. So
makes sense.
Literally this 5.0 update video answers every qualm people have about the Nintendo Switch operating system. Is it real? It looks real. Like it looks real. So, what do you guys think? Joshua, Mekel, you guys did see the video?
Yeah, Player Essence actually had a video on it, and he was discussing it. That I didn't see it personally, but he showed some clips of it and had some topics on it. So, I know what was in it. I didn't watch it personally though.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw the video that was linked. I saw Player Essence's live stream and he was talking about it. And there's something that he said that I completely agree with is a lot of the features that seem to be on the 5.0, minus the whole cloud part, we've seen that on the 3DS. So, with themes and, folders and whatnot. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility of that being real.
Yeah. Though the main one I'm hoping that comes about is just cloud saves.
Yes.
Cloud saves would be so nice. Like I went to Oklahoma and they have an Xbox and my brother has an Xbox. He just signed into his account. All of his games were there. If they had a game he just downloaded the save data instantly, was playing again on his file. I'm just like, where's this been my whole life?
Yeah.
Why does Nintendo not have this?
No, not just Nintendo, but Sony too. That's one of the things I think, Jonesy, you and I talked about that on the other podcast, is how like with Xbox, you can have, no matter where it is, like so long as you're using the same account, your saves and everything just automatically back up. Like for me, having 3 PS4s, like one in each room, it's hard because I had to upload to the server and download to the other one. But on the Xbox, I can just go wherever. Boom, there it is. So
your game is linked to your account, and it's also linked to your console. So you have that both, running simultaneously. And you, as long as you're signed in, and you can set it up where you have a security system where Tom, Dick, and Harry can't just access your games, but all they have to do is punch in your security code, and bam, they're often playing. And you can also do game share too. I mean, those are some really nice features that I was kind of hoping that when I saw Nintendo and Microsoft being a little chummy, I'm like, oh man, could we see a Sega style partnership with Nintendo and Microsoft here? But
that would have been that would be really cool, but it's not happening.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening either. I think that Microsoft
maybe 5-10 years down the road though.
Yeah, I think if Microsoft goes the way that I think they're going to go with their Steam box sort of thing, which that's what it seems like. That's the direction I think they are probably going to go. I think they're going to keep their console design, but I think it's going to be like a Steam box sort of thing. If they go that direction and Nintendo goes in the Switch direction and they stay in that direction, I think you could see a partnership down the line, but
well, like
right now, I don't think it's possible.
Right. So, like the way I've fantasized about it, right, is that it's obviously not happening this generation, but like you said, maybe Microsoft semi bows out of the console industry and just makes Steam boxes. But really, what they start selling is, there's some of their IP and their Xbox Live system. What we could see maybe is that maybe Nintendo allows Microsoft to run the online functionality of their next system, right? Xbox Live. Right, they would probably have to change the name, but by doing that, Nintendo gains the ability to have some of their IP, like Halo, or
I don't
the
see
rare
that happening.
Yeah, but I mean, if Microsoft is no longer making their own consoles, why not? If they get
it would be a Steam box. I mean, I think their IP might be on there. I do think you're partially right in that area, but I don't think that they would give up their IP being on their systems. Like that's the one thing that is actually keeping them afloat, and it would probably keep them afloat. I think that would be suicide.
I guess the problem though is that their IP, but maybe it's just the rare IP are so underutilized. Like they don't really have strong developers working for them, but you have great IP like Killer Instinct, Perfect Dark, Banjo-Kazooie. Like it's just like those are great franchises.
I think Galaxy's done an okay job on Killer Instinct. I mean, it seems to have a very strong fan base. Like I will say that it's probably one of the best fighting.
I guess I just didn't like.
Xbox.
I just didn't like the episodic nature, like it was split up into little pieces.
I mean, even with that, I feel like fighting games kind of started that whole episodic thing with Street Fighter and like Guilty Gear. And I think they just decided, okay, we're just going to monetize it and make it a season so we don't have to physically print another disc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they really changed that after season 2. Like season 2 was the last one where it was real supposedly episodic, and then by season 3 they were just like, okay, we're just going to release a definitive version of everything. I mean, I think by the end they were just like, we have so much content out there, most of it's for free, let's just give it away, basically.
Okay, so I'll take back what I said about Killer Instinct, but
I do agree with you on the other ones though.
But most of those franchises
but don't you know Nuts and Bolts is the best Banjo-Kazooie game ever made?
No, definitely
don't even play, man. Don't even play.
But then look at Ukulele though. I mean, I don't think that Ukulele had the spark of Banjo-Kazooie, and that's made by the guys who made Banjo-Kazooie.
They also have a lot less resources though.
Yeah, that's true too.
And apparently the Switch version does rectify a lot of it. It's still not as great,
It's empty. I don't think it was necessarily a programming thing, more as that platforming style back in those days, man. We were like, oh, this is crazy, because it was all new.
And it also left more to the imagination.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I just think it's hard for that style. Now, getting into something that like I'm interested in is like the whole Fable thing, right? So Fable Line had closed last year, right? So Fable Legends was supposed to come out, and then Fable, whatever the heck it was, the card game, they delayed it. I mean, it's in game preview or whatever, but that IP is a moneymaker, and Fable 3 was a real big downside, but 1 and 2 were big sellers for Microsoft. If they could give that to Rare, I think they just need to find a way to get the studios they do have, get them the games that they want to do. They need to switch it up a little bit, just like Sony did with, I mean, yes, what was it? Horizon Zero Dawn. That's a great game. Like,
Yeah.
I really do think it is. But that team was the Killzone team for years, Guerrilla, and finally they were like, okay, well, we need to try something different, and they made something great. Who was it? The team that made the Order 1886. Was that Santa Monica?
Oh God, don't remind me.
Yeah, I mean, that was a bad game, but at the same time, they were at least allowed to spread their wings and try something different. And I think that that's what Microsoft needs to do. They need to let their teams spread their wings a little bit, try something different. If it doesn't work, okay, Santa Monica, go back to making God of War.
They have so much money. I feel like they could create a couple more, like, development teams. Like, they made 343 Studios, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they split off some of Bungie.
Like, they need to do something like that again and create, like, pretty quality developers. Like they need that. Like, they obviously don't have enough. Like, that's what's holding Microsoft back, having these good first party games, because there aren't really any. And
for sure.
I like Halo, but I mean, I think a lot of people will agree with me that Halo is starting to get a little stale. Like, they need to mix up that franchise. It's like
they did, and it pissed people off. That's what Halo 5 was.
It didn't work.
They need to do it right. They need to do it right. They need to do like a Wild or like a Mario Odyssey kind of mix up.
The problem with Halo 5 was there's no local co-op. They used the same recycled boss fight like 6 times, and it was like it just felt too similar. Like, the areas were very samey. Everything was the same. It was like the same thing. Like, the entire campaign felt like one gigantically long level that wasn't that fun to play with, a bunch of repetitive stuff. And no local multiplayer. Like, the stuff they added that was, like, the mechanics were cool. Like, the way you moved around is great. And every time I go play that game and go back to the other ones, I'm like, gosh, I can't move anywhere. I'm so slow.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's not the stuff they added. It's the stuff they took away.
Like, Halo 2, Halo 3, there was a lot of hype going into them. The next Halo game, there is not going to be as much hype going into it, I think.
Yeah. Definitely not.
I think they definitely need to change
its allure.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, and I think that their big ones right now are obviously Gears. Forza is their biggest one, I think, right now. But they need to find, like, they did a couple nifty IPs, but they just didn't, like, Sunset Overdrive, I thought, was one of the hidden gems of this generation, and it just didn't take off. Like, that's Insomniac Games, and they made an Insomniac style game. It's a Ratchet and Clank jet grind radio sort of game, and it just didn't sell. I mean, now that was early on in the Xbox One's life when people were pretty angry with them. Yeah, that was when they were like, people were at their peak anger with Xbox. So I mean, that's understandable. But I'm going to ask you guys if you think this is true. Do you think this generation Microsoft banked on third partnerships more than first party studios?
For sure.
Absolutely.
That's why I don't like them anymore. Like, I was a big fan of the Xbox 360. I love the Xbox 360. They had tons of exclusives and tons of cool third-party games, and they looked the best on that system.
I feel that both Microsoft and Sony were banking on third-party partnerships.
True.
Like, right now, Sony is pretty much only announcing remasters. Like, a lot of their big games are still a ways off. So,
yeah.
They're really dependent on the third parties. And because of the way Nintendo has been in the past, that has worked, right? But now that Nintendo seems to be finally gaining third-party favor, I don't think it's going to work next year. Sony probably will be able to deliver the goods in 2018. But Microsoft, I don't think they'll be ready in terms of first-party support to really help them be competitive. I don't think they're going to fail or anything like that, but I don't think they're going to be as successful as Nintendo or Sony. And actually, I saw a question in the chat that was who's going to be more successful or have a bigger year, Nintendo or Sony. If if Pokemon is really the big thing, if Smash Bros. And Pokemon come out in 2018, I find it hard for any other company to compete with Nintendo. But if Pokemon doesn't come out this year, then I think Sony has a good shot at being pretty competitive. But I think the Switch has so much momentum right now; it's going to be tough.
I just don't know what Sony's going to have this year. I mean, they have God of War and Spider-Man. Those are the two that we know of right now that are for this year. Is Detroit Become Human this year too?
I was going to ask, yeah.
I think they just pushed that back to 2019.
Yeah, I mean, they have so many other games. Like, okay, so they announced 2 years ago they won E3, quote unquote, and so many of their games are still not out. And Microsoft, I think they are shooting themselves in the foot by taking this high road right now by not announcing things like years. Now, they've had a lot of games where they've delayed, like Crackdown, and they canceled Scalebound, but they're not doing this thing where they need to start showing what's going to be 2019 and 2020 because Sony is winning.
That's
I do believe they do, but I just think that they're trying to do this Bethesda thing where Bethesda has a pipeline of games. Everybody knows it. Like, there's no question about it. Microsoft has a pipeline of games. They have enough studios where they're going to have games coming, whether it be indie partnerships, third-party partnerships, or first-party studios.
If Microsoft kept Minecraft to just Microsoft and like Windows and Xbox, they'd be in much better shape.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they would. I think people would have flipped out, and I think there would be a mass boycott.
Well, okay, let me correct myself. When I say better shape, I mean the Xbox brand would be in better shape. Would they have as much money? I mean, you're probably right.
I think people would flip out and hate their guts.
I don't know if they'd never put it on anything else, like if they just bought it.
But you got to go years back though. At this point, though, right? Like when it first was released, like if it never, I don't know. I think at least more Xboxes would have been sold. I think we can at least agree to that more Xboxes.
If they make the Minecraft 2 Xbox exclusive,
it's gonna piss people off. I mean, I think that Microsoft
Bayonetta
is playing
times
the
1,000.
long game. Yeah, dude, I think that Microsoft is playing the long game right now. I think that best thing for them to do is they lost this generation. Did they lose their ass? No, they didn't. They've made money.
Xbox One has still sold a lot of systems.
Yeah,
I think it's on pace to still beat 360 somehow, right?
Oh yeah, it probably will.
I think that has more to do with the fact that we have a bigger market now because every few years, guess what? There's even more kids that want to play games.
Yeah, definitely.
They're being born. So
I was gonna say, like, one of my thoughts as to why, and this is to answer your earlier question, Jonesy, why Microsoft is doing so poorly this generation. I think it's not only that 2013 E3, but I think it's also when Satya Nadella became the CEO of the company. And I was working for Microsoft back when that did happen, and his vision for Microsoft is, the entirety of the brand is so different than the previous CEOs because he believes more so in the product or the brand as a service versus having products. I mean, look at how quickly he killed off Windows Phone. Windows Phone's killed off. He's pushing OneDrive and Office to every platform now. He doesn't see the value of having like a specific platform for just this when he can just put it out on everything.
Yeah.
So that's
Microsoft lost me with the Xbox as soon as they started putting things on PC. You start putting things on PC, I'm going to play it on my PC. It's just what's just going to happen. That's what I'm going to play it on.
Well, it's kind of like what Sega did back in the day. Like they needed money, so they started putting their IP. Well, Microsoft is a little different because they were doing that from the beginning, but it may have a similar effect in the sense that Sega, like, they needed money, so they started putting their games on PC, and then it's less people buying their games on their systems. So If they need their systems to succeed to continue, it's a problem. Sega needed their systems to succeed. Microsoft doesn't. So that's a really key difference, though.
Yeah. Well, and two, and this actually, it's awesome that the conversation actually organically went this way, because I kind of want to address that with the whole, there's a lot of people that were trying to conflate Sega and Nintendo with the Wii U and Sega with the Xbox and Xbox One. Let's be completely honest here. Sega did not fail because of the Dreamcast.
No, the Dreamcast was like the swan song.
Yes. They failed in spite of the Dreamcast.
They failed because of the 90s.
They failed because of
32X.
Because of the 32X.
32X.
Add-on. They failed because the Sega Saturn didn't do well in the United States, and it was launched poorly, and it was expensive as hell.
Yeah.
And then they launched the Dreamcast, and it had no DVD player.
Did you guys know that the Saturn architecture originally, what the initial plans for it were going to be more like, was going to be the team that made the N64 architecture, but they swapped it up halfway through, and it was a mess going into launch, and developers didn't know what to do with the system, and it really struggled against the PS1, which, in fact, you can also make the argument that it's Sega's fault that Sony beat Nintendo in the 90s, because Sega sucked, PlayStation did so well that by the time the N64 came out, it was too late for Nintendo to really be competitive in that generation, which spiraled into the PS2, which completely blew everyone out the water.
Yeah. Well, and two, you have to remember that you had Saturn was designed to be a 32-bit powerhouse, and then when Sony came out and it's like, well, we're going to push the polygonal games, 3D games, even though they look like crap. That's what everybody wanted at that time because it was new technology. So Sega had to throw in this technology that they had no history in, that they had no expertise in. They threw it into their system. They had two separate processors running in the same system, and third parties just did not want to make games for them. I mean, you look at the ports of Resident Evil and Tomb Raider on the Saturn, it's like, oh my God, they look horrible. But then you go to games like me and Mekel were just talking about it, Megaman 8. Megaman 8 is far superior on Saturn than it is on PlayStation. The Street Fighter Alpha 2 was way superior on Saturn than it was to PlayStation.
Right.
And what's the other two you could compare is X-Men versus Street Fighter and Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Actually were close to arcade perfect, whereas on the PlayStation, you couldn't do the 2v2 battle. You couldn't swap out the characters. So
on PlayStation, you had to play in 240p.
True.
Yeah. So basically, Sega failed because, well, one, they were never their biggest profitable period was the mid to early days for the Sega Genesis, right?
Yeah.
That was their big time. So they never even had a big opportunity to gain like huge cash reserves like Nintendo or Sony. So, and then after the Sega Genesis, they had like 4 different like platforms that failed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So by the time they got to the Dreamcast, not only did they never had that much cash reserves in the first place, they failed multiple times for a decade. Nintendo has failed. They failed once with the Wii U. Technically, the GameCube was more profitable than the Xbox and the Sony during that period, even though it sold less. So Nintendo has always been profitable, and they've always had huge cash reserves, and their IP sell on their own in terms of toys and branding and such. So like.
Exactly. The Wii U, they had the 3DS, so they were still making money.
Right. So it's a completely different situation. It's never been close.
No. Yeah, and that's why I have my big issues when people tend to compare them. And it's like, well, you can't compare them because Nintendo with the Wii U, they were just coming off the biggest console success they've ever had with the Wii. And Xbox was coming off their biggest success with the 360. I mean, it would be like saying that Sega failing with the Genesis during the Genesis' biggest selling period. It just doesn't make any sense.
There's also something I've kind of noticed is that a lot of times, I mean, it's not always true, but I feel like a lot of times a company will have a really successful generation, and then the next generation it like goes down. It's almost like cyclical, up and down. So it's not perfect, right? But let's look at it like this. So PS1 was Sony's like big period, but if you just talk about the 21st century, PS2 destroyed everything, right?
Yeah.
PS3, they're weakest in terms of compared to the competition.
Yeah.
360, their high point. Xbox One, their low point.
Yep.
GameCube, low point. Wii, high point. Wii U, low point, and now Switch, high point.
Yeah.
So it seems that
it's
it's up and down, at least in the 21st century for home consoles.
It's a big. I call it the big head humble pie transition. I mean, when you're on top of the sales world, you get a big head like Sony did with the PS2. You go and you launch your PS3, $600. If you don't have enough money, get a job, get a second job, you know. And it's like, oh my God, you literally have the biggest head and biggest ego ever. You fail. Then at the end of the PS3 life cycle, Sony started to realize, oh my God, we screwed up. We realized we messed up. Here's some great titles at the end of the PS3.
They did a great job. Yeah, for the PS3 second half.
Yeah, the second wind of the PS3 was great. And honestly, I'm going to say that Xbox started losing their people way before the Xbox One even came out. That was the Xbox One launch was just the nail in the coffin. But I think that a lot of people, like myself included, I had been a 360 loyalist pretty much the whole time. Then Last of Us, Uncharted 3, what the heck was it? Infamous series. Like there were so many good games on PS3 that I was just like, oh, I'm compelled to buy one. It's cheap. The bundles are cheap. So a lot of people later in the generations usually buy the other brand, the losing brand, quote unquote. And I think you're going to start to see that now I think you already are seeing it now with the Xbox One X. I think a lot of people who are looking for an upgraded console are going to buy the X over the Pro. Yeah, it's $100 more, but I think that there's enough information out there that the Pro is just not that much of an upgrade. Honestly, I have a Pro, and I usually recommend people just to go with the base PS4. Like, if you want to buy a PS4, buy a base PS4, because don't spend the extra $200.
Yeah, I have the PS4 Slim, the Call of Duty version that came out a few months ago.
Yeah, my problem with the PS4 Pro is that I have two 4K TVs, but they're both not in my room. I have a 1440p in my room, and from what I've been hearing, it doesn't. If you have a 1440p TV, it just displays at 1080p.
Yeah,
like you have to have 4K or 1080p. I'm like, what? Yeah, that's nonsense. What is this? That's like, why would I get that? Like, am I gonna have to upgrade to 4K TV?
But the one thing I think the PS4 Pro has over the Xbox One X is the whole PSVR thing.
Yeah,
which isn't a great point because you have to get the Pro, you have to get an iToy, you have to get the VR, and then you have to get the games, and you also have to get a PlayStation Move controller, which
it's not as good as PC.
It's like, if you get good deals, it's at least $650, $700, probably more than that.
Yeah,
in most cases.
I mean, it's the cheapest VR set you can get, and
but it's still extremely expensive.
It is.
I mean, I probably get motion sick from it, so.
Right, and it's still not a perfected technology, exactly. So, like I said, it's not a great selling point, but it is a selling point that the Pro does have over the Xbox. So if you want like a console VR experience, the Pro is the best system for that.
At this point, I'm never gonna get an X. Like, unless they start releasing exclusive games that are not on the PC, I'm never gonna get an X, because for $500, I could just get a GTX 1080. If I trade in my current graphics card, which is a GTX 1060 6GB, I could get like $200 off of that. Put that on top of the $500, and in a couple of months, the GTX 1080 Ti's are going to be like $700. So why in the world would I get this console, especially since my CPU is so much better? It's so much better than the Xbox One X, just light years ahead. So I'm just like, for me, For anybody in the PC market currently, like the PC gaming market, I do not see why you would want an Xbox One X.
I don't either. I've never told anybody that had a PC to buy one. I usually tell people if you have a PC, that doesn't make any sense to buy an Xbox One X.
Yeah,
buy an Xbox controller and just link it to your PC.
But honestly, like, how many people have that? I mean, there's a lot of them, but at the same time, like, there's a lot of console gamers that just want the ease of access. I mean,
then get a Switch.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of people that I think I'm going to tell you something that might sound unpopular to you guys, and I love the Switch. Don't get me wrong, but I think that the Switch it has to have more third-party games. It has to.
Well, I agree.
If it wants to keep this momentum, and it doesn't want to crash and burn like the Wii, where no software sales are going to happen, like, they have to get more third-party games, and I think that's going to be the crutch for them.
I agree with you. I don't disagree. I just think that the third-party support is coming. It's already getting better.
So too, man.
It's already the best it's been in years. So, I only see it getting better.
I hope these Doom numbers aren't real, man.
The what numbers?
The Doom numbers.
Well, what I heard is that that's just the first 2 days.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It is. Yeah. It is. People are freaking out about that. 80,000 in 2 days, and like 80,000 in 2 days is not bad at all.
No.
Yeah.
As long as it's 2 days, that's good, man.
Well, there is something that should be noted, though. I didn't buy Doom on the Switch, even though I want to. I can technically get it for $20 on my PlayStation 4, and it looks better.
Yeah.
So
that's my thing with the PC.
The selling point of the Switch is it's portable, but the problem is that it's a huge price differential, you know? And so it's kind of like...
See? This is what's going to kill the third market for the Switch, man. I'm so concerned about this.
But Wolfenstein 2, however, is going to come out in a couple months, and that's going to be a competitive pricing compared to Wolfenstein 2 on the other systems. So that game,
$30.
Really, they dropped price so quickly on other systems, but it's still not 20.
No, but probably by that point, it's probably going to be 20. I mean, I'm just so concerned. This is what I'm concerned about, because I was just talking to about the Switch tax the other day, and I was like, you know, that news came out about the 64 gigabyte cards. And I was like, this is going to be an issue going forward, because it's going to limit what games can come into the system. And I think it behooves Nintendo to kind of make the 32 gigabyte at least the standard.
I think cloud saves remedy this situation at all?
Unless they do it like Microsoft.
For NBA. It would help, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but that's only 2.5. I mean, it says up to 5, but it only uses 2.5 on my hard drive or on my flash memory. So
it's like per save file. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true.
It's insane.
I don't think that will help unless they do like a
probably
Microsoft
not.
thing where they're saying like you can, you know, play part of the game. It'll download only what's needed. But I mean, I think the Nintendo infrastructure is far from that. So I'm just really concerned with where we're at. I think games at scale, like, you know, your id Tech games, I think those will do okay on there. But I just don't know, like a Code Vein. I know a lot of people are want to see that game come to the Switch. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the footage, but it chugs on PS4 and Xbox One. I mean, base systems, because of all the effects and post-processing. I just, you know, that's the concerning issues.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I see your points. Like I said, I'm a hardcore Nintendo gamer, but I don't think I'm so blind to some of the realities that we're seeing. I do think that this year we're going to see actual third-party games from AAA like developers, and the games are going to come out at the same time. So, you know, if, for example, Wolfenstein 2 came out for the Switch at the same time as the other systems, I think most people will see no reason why they should just get it on the Switch. Even if it looks a little worse, it still is going to look like Wolfenstein 2, and it's going to be portable. Definitely. So at the same price, most people are going to want it on Switch. Yeah. Because the Switch is kind of playing catch up. It hasn't even been out for a year yet. So
I think towards the end of 2018, we're going to see that. I don't think we're going to see that at the beginning of 2018. I think it's too soon. I think developers just haven't had time for that. Definitely we'll see some games come, but as far as on this at the same time, I don't think we're going to see that, at least not for big AAA games. But definitely I think maybe for like Call of Duty at the end of the year, we might see that come out around the same time as the Switch is on the other platforms. And definitely I think starting 2019, we're going to start seeing day and date releases for pretty much any game that comes to the Switch. Any third-party game, it's going to be on the same day, I think, starting 2019. And even late 2018, we're going to see a lot of that, I think. So as far as storage, I mean, definitely as far as consumers go, like, it's annoying because you have to get you have to buy a SD card because you're not going to have enough space for everything. But I feel like that's the same problem that they already have on the Xbox One. I mean, I have a 500 gigabyte Xbox One. My brother has like 5 games, and it's all taken up because you have to download every part of every game.
That was the big problem with the both consoles this generation.
So I feel like Nintendo is almost in a better situation there because at least you don't have to download the entire game.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're not. I don't think the storage is necessarily an issue. I think the Switch tax is more of an issue than anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Price. Going back to what you were saying about why would you pay more than I think Andre said it. Why would you pay $10 to $20 more for a game that you can get for $20 on your PS4 and it's going to look better and play better? I mean, it's getting to that point where you're going to be start to weigh like, but it's portable. Yeah, but it's cheaper. But it's portable. I mean, you're going to have the same argument over and over again. And, I mean, it's going to be hard to kind of tell yourself or convince yourself to buy the Switch version. I do agree with you, though, about the Wolfenstein comparison as long as they release it day and date.
Yeah.
I think day and date releases are going to be a must-have. Even if it's a WWE. Now, I know that's a bad example because it's a bad port, but let's just say it wasn't a bad port. Let's just act like it wasn't a bad port. Even if Wolfenstein 2 released like that and it was delayed by, let's say, a month or whatever, I still think that would be enough time that it's going to hurt them because all the hype's going to be in the first couple weeks, So I hope we get to that point with the Switch. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I'm not a fan of any console in general. I like them all, and I'm successful this generation going forward. I think we need all three of them to be successful, to have competition in the marketplace.
Well, it kind of goes to what we were talking about earlier about competition bringing out the best. Right? I 100% agree. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the PS3 is such a great system in retrospect because it has a lot of amazing games because Sony was pushed. The Super Nintendo is hailed by many Nintendo fans as the greatest system of all time. Why? Because Sega pushed Nintendo. So what did we get? Yeah. We got Donkey Kong Country. We got Super Metroid. Games that may not have ever been made if it wasn't because of Sega. Yeah. So, I totally agree with you. Like, 100%.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think Switch definitely fits a really cool spot in our marketplace right now. I just think that you're gonna have your people who are like handheld nuts like me who are gonna love the system for the AAA games, but the mass market appeal is gonna want those AAA experiences on the go. That's what Nintendo has been selling us. You know what I mean? That's what all their advertisements are. Big games on the go. And I think if they don't continue to deliver that there's going to be Switches that are sitting in people's houses. Now, I don't think that they're going to not sell systems, but software is where companies really make their money. And that's what I want Nintendo to do. I want them to sell more software, especially third-party games.
Well, everything that I've been hearing is that software sales on both third-party and first-party ends have been very strong with the Nintendo Switch.
They have.
So all signs point towards success up to this point. Now, a lot of people are talking about how the Switch lineup this year doesn't look good. But, of course, Nintendo hasn't had their presentation where they tell us what they're going to do for 2018. So hopefully this week, I'm anticipating we're going to get an announcement for the Nintendo Direct on Tuesday, and we're going to see it on Thursday. We're going to see what they have in store. And on Thursday, I think we'll have a good understanding of where the Nintendo Switch is headed. Because if we see Pokemon and Metroid Prime, right, and Wolfenstein 2 and Grand Theft Auto, I don't think anyone can really offer a valid argument to say the Switch is still going to fail, you know?
No.
But if we don't see those games, then, you know, like if Fire Emblem and Project Octopath are just the biggest games coming out in 2018 for the Switch from Nintendo, then, yeah, it could spiral downwards still.
Yeah. I don't think the system is going to fail. I think it has enough forward momentum. It's not going to fail.
But it could become one of the most successful systems ever if they follow it up with a really good year now.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to keep. I mean, what's going to be interesting is that they have a buffer period right now between the console generations, and I think that, you know, obviously the Pro came out in the X, but they're just 4K boosters for base hardware.
But the R&D for those systems, I imagine that there's probably going to be at least a couple more years before we see.
Exactly. That's why I don't buy that whole, either for the PlayStation or the Xbox, that 2019 is going to be the year. Sony and Microsoft just dumped a ton of money into those new consoles. They just built new generations of consoles, pretty much. It would be suicide for them to release new systems already. I mean, it would destroy their infrastructure. But you know, Nintendo has a really good opportunity right now where they have a good couple years where Sony and Microsoft are just going to be playing we're going to finish out this generation, you know, on cruise control, you know, so to speak. And obviously PlayStation's already riding its success. Microsoft is having its own successes, obviously not anywhere even close to Sony. Sony's just destroying them, but they're doing their own thing. And Nintendo can literally use that to control their own part of the market. And it kind of creates a Venn diagram in the market where they can capture both Xbox fans and PlayStation fans who want that extra system and who have a little bit of extra money.
Well, the problem with the Switch is the Switch is designed in a way to literally steal software sales from Microsoft and Sony. Because if it gets the same games and they come out the day and date, same time, same price, they're going to be hard. Yeah. It's going to reduce their software sales, and that's going to be really bad.
No
doubt. Because the Microsoft and Sony make really expensive pieces of hardware, you know.
Yeah. Well,
they need software.
We're going to see all the games. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like I
we'll
said,
see.
I
not now. Definitely not now.
Well, I mean, the further we get down the line, it's going to be harder because unless they make that supposed Switch 2.0, like there's rumors and there's been rumors about it and murmurs.
I'm a proponent of a 4K dock instead.
A 4K dock. Now, does the Switch upscale to 4K?
Well, let me explain my idea behind it. So one, there are patents for a supplemental computing device for the NX, right? So there's precedent for what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But essentially, if you think about the way the Switch works, you plug it into a dock, and it literally goes into a higher graphical setting on the game, right? Like it clocks up.
Yeah.
If you look at Mario Odyssey, there are literally more details. It's not just a higher resolution.
Yeah. No, exactly.
It is designed in a way to have a scalable graphical setting and switch pretty quickly. So they could create, in theory, right, a 4K dock that maybe has an additional GPU that allows the games to perhaps run at a higher resolution and a better frame rate. And if a developer wants to offer better textures or whatever, that's up to them. But I think they could release that a year or two from now, right, to give those fans of 4K or Nintendo an option, which would be a cheaper option than what we've gone with PS4 Pro and Xbox One X. not forcing fans to buy a whole new system, but just basically an add-on to your Switch.
Yeah, if they
But that's just an idea. I don't. It's not based off of rumor. Well, it is based off of rumor with the patents, but
right. If they released the 4K dock, I would just buy it. Like it'd be like insta purchase. There's no way I would not, because I mean the one thing I'd say Nintendo's disappointed me in the most is the area of just graphics and stuff like that. Like I've never been unhappy, but I've never been really truly blown away by their efforts lately. Like, sure, their games look good, but they're nothing compared to, the PC games or anything I'm playing. So if they could get these games in higher resolutions and, better textures and stuff, it'd be amazing. Like, I'd really like that. That's the one thing I think Nintendo is lacking, is just, like, Nintendo games are amazing, but they're never really known for having great graphics. So you could have this amazing gameplay and amazing graphics. It would just be like the whole package. Just be everything that I could ever want. So having a 4K dock, I mean, imagine Mario Odyssey in 4K. That would just be insane. Yeah. That would look amazing.
No, I mean, even if they did like what Xbox did with the S and just add in the 4K upscaler and add in HDR support, like that would be. I mean, I honestly like HDR better than I like 4K. I mean, I think that the high dynamic range just makes the colors pop. I mean, imagine seeing Mario with the high dynamic range.
Oh, yeah. Nintendo, I'm surprised Nintendo wasn't one of the first to jump on HDR, because they're always all about the colors, man. They're just all about having super colorful games. I'm like, HDR, Nintendo, that's perfect. Like, gosh, I need to get an HDR TV, though. Like, the monitor I have is really, really good coloring, but it's not HDR.
Yeah.
Well,
but I mean,
the thing about Nintendo
with HDR is amazing.
Yeah, it's the thing about Nintendo. It's not so much that they don't care about graphics. Like, they push the hardware they use. It's the problem is that creating powerful hardware like that requires a lot of resources, and they go for a more mainstream approach.
Yeah,
because they want to bring in a larger audience, so they sell at a lower price.
Luckily, though, NVIDIA seems to be making breakthroughs with their mobile technology just like every day. It's insane. You look at these mobile chips they're saying they're creating, and I mean, they're more powerful than the PlayStation 4, and it's insane. You get these super powerful things, and it's just in a couple of years that's going to be the same price as you're developing the X1 chip right now, or the X2 or the X3 or whatever they want to call it. They could put that in a Switch too, and I think it would sell well. I think the appeal of having games that look just that much better on the go, because a lot of games, I mean, the Switch has a 720p screen, but how many games really hit that 720p mark? Not many. And if you had an X2 or an X3, you might be able to hit 720p, and then have some games that even hit 1080p on if you had 1080p on the Switch, if you slap a 1080p screen on there. So I think there's a lot of room for them to grow. I think the cool thing about the Switch is, while PCs and consoles are kind of starting to hit this point where graphics aren't leaping as fast as they used to.
Yeah.
The Switch is mobile technology is just growing so massively. The next Switch could look vastly better than the one we already have.
Definitely.
So the leaps in technology, them being a bit behind, gives them kind of an advantage for the next generation to show off and just give it that extra oomph.
Especially now that it seems like they're kind of like their cycle is like mid-cycle for the competition.
Yeah.
So that 2-year window gives them more time to wait for technology to catch up, so they can create, more competitive hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and two, I like that Digital Foundry, talking about them again, we're going full circle here. They had a video when the Switch first came out. They had a video with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and they were literally showing okay, so Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 7, 8 is the successor to 7. Look at just the difference. Like, it is the direct sequel. Look at 7 running on the 3DS, and look at 8 Deluxe running on the Switch. and it's like night and day different. And it's literally the next iterative system. So I mean, you're literally seeing, the Xbox. I would actually compare it to the Dreamcast era, and then you jump all the way up to PlayStation 3 mid-generation, or Xbox 360 mid-generation. So I mean, I think that's how much of a graphical jump the Switch is to any mobile system. Even the Vita.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Vita had some beautiful looking games, but
Until the Untrained Eye, they almost look like PS3 games.
Yeah, that's exactly. You are exactly right, Andre. They were fast moving titles, and from a distance, they looked like PS3 titles. But under a magnifying glass, you could see the crack. You know, they weren't that good looking. They were running at like 540. So
yeah, they ran at 540p. The textures were all pretty low resolution. I mean, it just looked decent on that small screen. And I mean, you compare it to the 3DS, and it looks amazing. So
yeah, exactly. What the 3DS has one of the most historically bad screens. Like
240p,
240p,
and the 3D slider. So when it makes it even worse.
Exactly. Like some of those games actually have high definition textures, and then you have a 240p screen.
I would have. So the thing is, a 3DS is more. I think is a good marketing ploy for when it came out, but an HDS would have been a better system. You know.
Definitely.
Like if they focused on having higher resolution instead of 3D, it would have been a better system. It would have may not have sold as well though. So but it would have been more fun.
Nintendo tries to outsmart themselves sometimes. I mean, you guys as Nintendo fans, I'm sure you can attest to this too. But Nintendo tends to think themselves very crafty, and they are. I mean, they're super inventive and they're super unique, and I love it. But at the same time, sometimes they're just oh, we're so crafty and.
I think they do. I think Nintendo intentionally does. Hey, Mekel, am I allowed to curse?
Open forum. Go for it.
Okay. Nintendo, I believe. Now, they'll never admit to this. Well, maybe they will someday, and very subtly. But I believe they enjoy and intentionally mindfuck us. I intentionally believe that I think they actually mindfuck us. Just for a minute, think about it. The whole NX thing. Think about how long we went with nothing. People were screaming on the internet. There was a lot of outcry for something from Nintendo, and they waited as long as they possibly could. People were like, "Oh my god, if they wait any longer, it's all over for them." They waited till the last realistic moment to announce the console. Right? And then they're like, "Oh, when's the presentation? When are we going to see the games?" 2 months before the system even comes out.
Yeah.
That's
where's the hype?
Unprecedented.
Yeah.
Unprecedented. No one's ever done that before. Not in that way.
Not for a console launch.
And it worked. It worked, but it was also a complete mindfuck for all of their fans.
Yeah.
And it's also why I think a lot of people are predicting they don't think that this year in terms of software is going to be that strong from Nintendo, but I think it will be. But because if you look at everything that happened with the Wii U era, it wouldn't make sense. But if you look at what happened with the Switch this year, I think it's going to be pretty strong, more than people are expecting.
I think it's going to be strong, even if Metroid and Bayonetta don't come out and only one of the big three make it this year. I think it's still going to be a strong year for Nintendo. I really do.
I mean, you got to think that Animal Crossing and Pikmin and Smash Brothers are very likely options, right? Which don't include the big three that we're talking about: Pokemon, Bayo, and Metroid.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of, and that doesn't count Fire Emblem or Yoshi or Kirby either. And then they could always throw out an F-Zero or a Wave Race at some point, there's, and that doesn't count the third-party stuff. We might get lots of ports. I see a lot of ports happening. Final Fantasy 15 is an option. Soul Calibur 6, Resident Evil 7. I'm not concerned.
Yeah. You can. I mean, I was talking to my wife about this, and I was playing Skyrim, and I was just thinking, I was like, Nintendo has an opportunity right now because they have a weaker system, but they could go back in time, so to speak, and they could hit up so many games like Spec Ops: The Line, you know, just the hidden gems that were really great on the 360 and the PS3 that were triple A games, or even Xbox One original and
A lot of
PS2
easy
games.
ports. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of easy ports that were hidden gems that they could up-res and bring out. I mean, hell, Sony's doing it right now with what the hell was it? Star Ocean: The Last Hope. The 4K, they're releasing a 4K version. And I mean, that game was a hidden gem. It was lost on the Xbox. And they're re-releasing it and bringing it out to a new market. I mean, that they have that opportunity right now to really knock it out of the park with some older titles that never saw the light of day, like Asura's Wrath by Capcom. You know, some of the Monster Hunter games. I really do think that if they play their cards right, like they could have just title after title after title every year.
And it don't have to be new games for the most part. That's true.
No, and really, I mean,
I saw a list actually before it went into this discussion that had it's a supposed leaked Nintendo Direct list that showed off games like Grand Theft Auto, Nier Automata, Final Fantasy 15, all ports, right? But all of a sudden, you get those kinds of games out in the year. It would be great. That'd be a great lineup, you know, because a lot of Nintendo fans haven't played
it. I think Sony paid for that one. I think they paid for the exclusivity for that one, or they helped or something. But
it's on Steam as well.
Is it?
Nier Automata?
But they did that with Street Fighter 5 too. It's on PC as well, and Sony paid for that. Like they have this thing where like they don't care about releasing it on PC for some reason. Microsoft's the same way. They don't care about releasing it for PC. They're just like, okay, that's fine, but we just want the console exclusive. It's like they know that they're never going to get somebody like you, so they're like, you can have this game. We're going after the guy who's going to buy the console.
Yeah. Well, let's just say, like,
it's not a bad idea.
No, I don't think it is either.
I think that's part of their problem is that they assume that I'm never, like, people like me are never going to get, like, a console. I have the Switch. I play the Switch more than I do my PC because
you're a
it's
Nintendo
amazing.
Fan.
That's because I'm a Nintendo fan, because it has amazing first-party software. I desperately wanted to get a PS4 over Black Friday because they had such a great deal. I mean, $200 and a $50 GameStop gift card, like, because I want these first-party games. If Microsoft had first-party games, I'd be taking my Xbox One in here and actually playing it.
I'm really excited for my PS4 because there's they have a remake for Medieval coming. They have a remake for Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh,
right?
I really want to
like those games.
I never got to play the original
coming.
Shadow of the Colossus.
Like those are a lot of games that I'm really excited about. I mean, look, what's that game that just came out that I haven't picked up yet? It's the game with the giant dog.
Oh, with Trico.
Last Guardian.
Yeah, Last Guardian.
It's another.
I remember the dog's name instead of the name of the game.
Yeah, you know,
definitely a plethora of good. Definitely, Andre, a game I would recommend if you don't have is Until Dawn. I had to look over at the collection.
Until
Dawn. It's a really good. It's like a survival horror experience. It's not really a game per se. It's more of an experience. But it's. This
is intriguing to me.
If you like Quantic Dreams games, like what the hell was there? Beyond Two Souls and what was the other one that they did? Heavy Rain.
2010. Yeah, Heavy Rain.
Heavy Rain.
Oh.
If you like those kind of games where they're like a visual experience, like it's almost like a movie. Like it's such a good game. Like
those are good games to play with other people. You know, like if you want to play like a single player game with someone else, that's like an experience just to watch, like that. Yeah. Really cool. Until Dawn, you said.
Yeah, Until Dawn. You can get it really cheap. It's made by Supermassive Games, and it is just it is just one of those games. It's really beautiful graphics. And it's really good. It's really campy. Like, it's like a campy 80s slasher movie.
That's
but
interesting.
It's so good. I can't recommend it enough. But
Cool.
no, I mean, I just think that they don't have to necessarily, even if they can't keep pace with the games today, I think Switch could still have a really good library of games that are new experiences, that they don't have to get the same great games. Like, and I saw they did that with the Siberian series. Like, they brought all three Siberias out on the system. Those games are old as hell, you know?
Yeah. There's this game that's been in development for a while that I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's a game that people thought was vaporware for a long time. It's like a spiritual successor to... Is it a spiritual successor to like Eternal Darkness or something? I might be remembering the wrong name. Do you guys know what I'm talking about at all? Or am I
have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I never was into Eternal Darkness enough. So I wouldn't know.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna forget about it then. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can still tell us about it.
I don't remember the name of it. That's the problem. So yeah, but it's another game that I think we have no idea when it's coming out though. So it could be could be a long time from now.
Can I bring something up that's been going on in a while in the chat here? Just bring up something people have been talking about. It seems that people seem to be getting the wrong impression of the conversation we're going here, and they seem to be under the impression that we only care about graphics. And I want to stress that is definitely not true. Like, I'd rather have a PS4 base than an Xbox One X, even though the graphics are way less. I'd rather have my Switch than my PC or PlayStation 4. Like, I'm definitely not over here going, which one has the best graphics? Oh, I'm going to play that game. Like, I've never been that way. I played the Wii U more than I played the Xbox One and the PS4. Straight up, I did. I played the Wii more than I played the Xbox 360 and the PS3. I've never been one to only play games that look good. The point we are trying to make is kind of, if you have the same game in the same situation, are you going to play it on one that looks better, or one that
is like way cheaper? A third is yeah. So do you pay $20 and have better graphics, or do you pay $60 with worse graphics but it's portable? So that was the argument.
We're not even saying like one of them's the only option. We're just saying for some people, like me, I never go anywhere, so convenience not a factor at all. So I'm looking at the same exact game on this one and the same exact game on this one. This one looks and plays better, but this one has something I don't care about. I'm going to go for this one. And then as far as the 4K dock was going, when you can have graphics and gameplay, why not have the best of both worlds there?
Exactly.
So we're not pixel counting over here. We're not going, oh, this game looks good, so it's obviously a better game than such and such game. No.
Power Level Amy knew what I was talking about. Yeah. Shadow of the Eternals. That is the game that I was trying to talk about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. That's the one. Yeah. Also, in terms of graphics horrors, I feel like hardcore Nintendo fan and graphics horror
do not go together.
Well,
they can't go together.
Back in the day, they used to.
Yeah, back in the day they could have, but not these days.
Had better graphics.
Not in the days of the Wii, the Wii U, the 3DS, and the Switch. It's just impossible. You cannot call me a graphics whore when my main system is the Switch. My main system was the Wii U. My main handheld was the DS and the 3DS. Like, you just can't. It's just not. It's factually incorrect. It's just. I've just now gone into PC gaming.
I'm actually gonna go the opposite end here and say that it is possible to be a graphics whore and a Nintendo fan. It's just the Nintendo bias is stronger than the graphics whore in me.
Yeah,
I guess you could be a bit. I'm just saying you can't. They're trying to. The point some of them were making. I'm not saying everyone in the comments, but there was a couple of points where they were just like, you only care about graphics, which is. I'm just trying to say, like, that's not true. It's not. No, we don't only care about graphics for sure.
I bought an Xbox One X because you know, I wanted a 4K picture in some of my games. I wanted the HDR in some of my games. I wanted the better processing power, but I don't have time for a PC. I don't like sitting behind a computer. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
And that's the only reasons. But I only play games that I enjoy. Like, I don't put on, you know, Order 1886 and oh my God, look at the graphics. They're beautiful, but it's shallow as hell. But oh well, it's a great picture. I don't say that. Like, and like what I would just said about Until Dawn is a beautiful game and it's got amazing graphics. But what makes it a great game is the gameplay, is the fact that it's a narrative-based story where you get to choose your paths, and it's a campy 80s slasher movie. That speaks to me. So, no, I can't say I care about graphics. Of course, I don't want every game I play to look like, you know,
Trash.
32-bit. But, yeah, I enjoy Witcher 3 in 4K HDR. I love that. It's a beautiful world to explore. But I also play games like Mummy Demastered and Axiom Verge, which look like they came from the 1989, you know?
Which is still beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful in its own way. It's pixel graphic. I think Street Fighter Alpha 3 on the Sega Saturn is one of the most beautiful games ever made. And it's pixelated.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of those things where, like, you don't need processing power to make a pretty game, you know?
No, you don't.
I mean, you can make a pretty picture with just a number 2 pencil, right? Yeah, you're lacking in colors and different media options, but it can still be beautiful with a simplistic style. You know, but it's also kind of like when you watch a movie, do I want my movies to look stunning? Absolutely I do, because it's a visual thing and we get enjoyment from seeing things that look good. But also, the most important thing is how I'm conveyed the entire time. If the movie is only a pretty thing to look at, I'm not going to like the movie, you know? And the same applies for a game. Like, there are games that kind of sometimes bore me because, yeah, it looks cool, but it's too slow paced for me.
Yeah.
I want a fluid, dynamic game that's going to be fun to play and feel intuitive. So,
yeah. If our conversation sounded like we were only talking about graphics, it's because we were comparing the same gameplay with different graphics and prices.
I do think that I am a little bit. I'm going to say that I am a bit of a graphics whore when it comes to me kind of shitting on the 3DS a little bit. I have a 3DS. There's games I love on the 3DS, and I thought some of the games looked really good, but also the resolution sometimes literally bothered me.
I'm not going to say that when a game looks bad, it doesn't bother me. I'm just not going to say that when I only look at games for graphics. Because there's a thing to be said about graphics. Graphics can make a game much better. It just can. It's a form of media that you just like looking at things that look cool or look beautiful. It's just a thing. I mean, when you go outside and you walk around, wouldn't you rather take a walk on a beautiful countryside or in, you know, a barren wasteland? Like, it's the same
I don't know.
thing.
Barren wasteland it's pretty.
I mean, like an ugly barren wasteland. Let's imagine a barren wasteland that's ugly.
Looks pretty nice.
Yeah.
You know what I meant. A terrible-looking barren wasteland of ugliness.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying.
I'm the kind of person that'll argue that a gray, gloomy day is beautiful in a very artistic
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of way.
I love the rain, and I love how it looks like right after the rain when it's like cloudy and gray. Like, I like that a lot. So I'm not saying, you know what I mean.
I'm sorry. I'm just messing around.
I know.
Yeah, I'm just messing with you too, man. But let me ask you guys this. So, and this is for anybody in the chat too. So, which would you prefer? Which do you think looks better? Ocarina of Time or Breath of the Wild?
I think
Ocarina of Time looks great. Looked great.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, you know what?
But I think Breath of the Wild is way better.
Well, like, if you think about it, well, here's the thing. Breath of the Wild is obviously newer, so it's not really a fair comparison. But if you try to think about, like, their visual impact relative to their time period, then it becomes a more interesting argument, you know?
I think Ocarina of Time at that point.
Well, but I mean, at the same point though, if you're comparing a portable games are always generations behind compared to the current gen system. So the Xbox One and the PS4 at where they're at right now, not even including their upgraded hardware, compared to the Switch, is about a generation behind, if ish, which isn't that bad for portables, mind you.
So this is my opinion on Breath of the Wild. I think the Ocarina of Time analogy is a little hard, but I think a better analogy is kind of like this, like Horizon Zero Dawn versus Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
If you take a snapshot of both of those games, I think 7 out of 10 times Horizon Zero Dawn is going to definitely look better. Like almost in there, most of the cases, most people are going to say Horizon Zero Dawn looks better. But in motion, I think Breath of the Wild almost always looks better because there's so many different things going on between the sky, the swaying grass, the insects flying, the different interactions. So I think Breath of the Wild looks better in motion because of all the different physics systems at play.
Especially since Horizon Zero Dawn has this weird blurry thing to it. I don't know what's it's weird. It hurts my head. It gives me a headache almost. Playing it, at least on the original PS4.
On the Pro. That they did.
It's just weird. I started playing it on my dad's PlayStation 4 because he got it, and I was like, "Oh, I want to see how it plays and looks and stuff." And I was just like, "This is weird. What's wrong with it?" So, yeah, I'm glad. Maybe I'll get a PS4 Pro then, so the original.
Yeah,
just for that.
So it doesn't make me sick while I play.
Right.
Marketing scam, Sony.
Oh, great.
But I mean, it has robot dinosaurs, so it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I love
robot dinosaurs are dope.
Yeah, I haven't finished the game yet. I was playing it not too long ago. I think it's really good.
I heard the story in that one's better, so I might end up enjoying that more than Zelda because I love a good story. Sometimes I love story over gameplay, but I like a mix. Yeah. I like the both. Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing that's frustrating in that game compared to Zelda is I played that right after Zelda.
It feels
not fair.
You're like, it's so hard to move around, man. Like, as you're
it feels static.
Yes, you feel so used to like the freedom in Zelda.
Like you can't climb rocks, you can't go through stuff. Like it's
I was so pissed off. I jump over something.
I went for Breath of the Wild because my dad didn't get it as soon as it came out. He got it a couple weeks later, so I had to have Breath of the Wild for a couple of weeks before I got to see him play it. So I've been playing Breath of the Wild. I go over them just like, oh, it's so slow. I can't.
What do you mean I can't pick up my arrows? What do you mean I can't burn this guy alive? What do you mean I can't electrocute him in the water? You know, all these things that were normal in Breath of the Wild because it has this dynamic physics going on. Like it, you know, it's one of those things that were like the next Horizon Zero Dawn is gonna be a lot closer to Breath of the Wild, which is why Breath of the Wild's Game of the Year because it changed. It raised the bar, you know, in terms of gameplay. So now more open world games the next couple of years are going to be closer to what we saw for Breath of the Wild. I think.
Well, Breath of the Wild, I think they totally advanced what open world games could be. Like they literally did so many intelligent things. Like they made me feel like I could use. I felt clever. I mean, I'm sure you guys did too. You felt so clever playing it. You were just like. When you'd figure something out, you'd be like,
it felt so good.
Yeah, I'm a clever little shit. You know, I figured that out. Yeah. And you'd solve that puzzle and you'd move on or, you know, something like that. Or like when you defeat like a Lionel or something and I don't know, like everything just felt like a big accomplishment in that game. And I think that's where, you know, so many of the Ubisoft games and the, you know, Horizons and even the Bethesda games now, like, they need to bring back that accomplishment. Like, I'm tired of the quote unquote loot treadmill where it's like I'm getting something new every 5 minutes to the point where nothing means anything anymore. I liked in Zelda where you just felt like you earned everything and you just felt like, I don't know, everything just felt grander. And as a non-Nintendo fan historically, I have to say that Breath of the Wild is probably my top 5 favorite game. In my lifetime.
It's definitely great.
I think it's kind of crazy that Breath of the Wild can challenge games that I loved from when I was a kid. That's not something I thought was possible. And I actually thought the reason why I preferred games in the past was because, not that they were better, but just because of nostalgia. But after
Rose
playing like games like Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe it's just because they haven't been able to raise the bar like they used to.
Yeah. Wind Waker used to be my favorite game of all time. And Zelda's my favorite franchise. It just is. It just always has been. So
Yeah.
Wind Waker was my favorite one in that series. And I'm having such a hard time, like, wondering if Breath of the Wild is better. Because I feel like the nostalgia, it's probably all nostalgia. It's probably just me not wanting to let go of my childhood, probably. But also, I feel like...
Well, I think Breath of the Wild needs a better story.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild promised an amazing story. Every
Which
trailer
is
they had,
why
it was talking about story. The
The trailer
DLC story.
seemed like the best, like...
It did. It seemed like such a great story. I was so hyped
Yeah.
up. I love a great story. And bouncing from Skyward Sword, which had the best story in any of the Zelda games, in my opinion.
But it was
Like, that had a great story.
Yeah.
And then going to that to Breath of the Wild with nothing.
I think
desert
the
of a
next
story.
Zelda is literally going to be the greatest game ever made, because now that they've perfected the open world mechanic, right, they'll be able to put in that story, put in more epic boss fights on top of this perfect like gameplay style, and maybe perfect it
More
a little bit
towns.
more, improve the fighting engine a little bit more, and then maybe polish it a little bit more, maybe a better frame rate, and all of a sudden you literally have a game that has an impenetrable armor in terms of critiques. You know, like there's nothing you can really critique about it.
Definitely.
So it might be the ideal Zelda game whenever that comes out.
I hope,
2 or 3 years from now would be lucky, but we'll see.
dude, I hope they Majora's Mask that shit.
Oh, gosh, yes. I made a video
Yeah.
all about that. I was just like, yeah, please.
I hope they Majora's Mask that shit,
That
and
would be so great.
they do it. They wait another year though, so it's not Majora's Mask is
Yeah.
arguably kind of small, right?
Yeah.
But if they wait 3 years, which is kind of a normal life cycle for most games, like it will still have the Breath of the Wild engine, but it'll completely different, and there'll be so much content in there. Like, you know, it's kind of weird because like I wanted more out of Breath of the Wild, even though I literally have clocked over 275 hours, right? Which is obscene.
Yeah, I have over
And it's
135,
ridiculous.
I think, and I haven't gotten all the shop yet. And I suck
Yeah.
at Trial of the Sword, so...
Yeah, I have 160 hours and I have yet to beat it. I was on my third beast and I kind of just got burnt out on it at the time, and I had so many other games that like I was just like, oh man, my backlog is like seriously like overflowing right now, and I really need to get back into other stuff. But I'm definitely going to get back into it at some point. Like that's just one of those games where
Did you get the DLC?
Yes, I did get the DLC.
So you have a lot to go back to.
Yeah, dude, I'm literally at the point now where I'm playing The Witcher 3 right now, and I'm trying to play Blood and Wine and Hearts of Stone. I'm trying to get there.
Mm-hmm. I just bought
It's a nice
Skyrim Remastered with all the special edition or whatever it's called,
Yeah,
all the DLC, and I'm just like, I got really addicted to it for a couple of days, and then I was like, okay, I'm good. I haven't played it since. I'll probably get back into it, but I just got to the point where I'm going around and I'm going in these towers and I'm finding these treasure chests, and it's just stuff that's not useful to me at all. It's just like crappy armor, and I don't need it.
you just make your own stuff, man. That's what I found in that game. I just crafted my own stuff.
I love games where you go and you find chests and you're like, oh, this is really cool. I'm going to use this. It's like the accomplishment of finding something. There's no accomplishment to finding anything in that game. You find something, you're like, oh, what the heck?
Junk that you sell.
It is. It's all garbage.
Buy materials to make stuff that you really want. That's the loop.
Yeah. But I'm enjoying the game, and I'll probably finish it, but...
I was very impressed with, you know, obviously, like, you've had a PC, you know, you've been playing games at high resolution for a while, but I've been, you know, getting back to resolution, dirty word. I have been very impressed with playing games at 4K now. Like, you know, I never played them before. I always played at 1080p or less. So playing now at 4K in a lot of these games and HDR support, it is a big boost. And honestly,
people underestimate.
Yeah.
You know, they underestimate high resolutions. They underestimate quad HD 1440p and full 4K. Like, you can take a GameCube game, throw it up in 1440p, and it looks amazing. Like you're looking at there, and you're like,
Crimson
"This
Skies,
is so good." I was just the other day. I was playing. Oh my god, my life just got brighter. That was weird. Anyways, I was playing Soul Calibur 2 on Dolphin at 1440p, 60 frames, and I'm just like, are those HD textures I'm seeing? Like, I literally think the GameCube version of that game had HD textures, but you couldn't tell because they were 40p game. I'm just like, this game looks like it could have been on the 360. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, and that's the cool thing too. Mekel and I were talking about. One of the cool things with the X that they are doing is that they are upgrading 360 and original Xbox titles to run at 4K.
That's awesome.
Crimson Skies, not Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, Ninja Gaiden Black.
Yeah.
Those games are now running at higher resolution. And oh my God, playing Crimson Skies, it's like playing a newer game, man.
It is.
It's
I mean,
awesome.
when you get into 4K is like it's like putting on. It's like getting a new prescription for your glasses or something. It's like finally putting the focus on the camera. Like it's just insane how much more detail and just how sharp and clear everything looks. It's like you go back to 1080p and you're like, it looks blurry. It just looks blurry.
It doesn't look good.
Weird.
What if I told you guys that I think Microsoft could have been even better than Nintendo and Sony by a lot?
Could have been.
I
think any company has the potential to have been better than any other company. It just depends on their decisions.
Well, let me explain where I'm coming from. When Sega was on its way out, there was a lot of talks between Sega and Microsoft in terms of creating a partnership. So if you consider if that went through, and so then that would mean Microsoft would have all the Sega IP on top of Sega, like their development teams working together. So literally a merger. They were talking about a merger. So all of that together, and then all the Rare IP on top of Halo and Forza and Gears, like all of those franchises together with all those different development teams, like the amount of resources they would have would be obscene. Like imagine, like it would have been, like it just would have been destruction.
They did have something similar to that in the original Xbox. They did have a lot of exclusive Xbox or Sega titles.
They had a good partnership for a little while, but they could have had a merger where they would have had everything.
But you remember that Sega was not. They would have had to deal with Sega's shit, so to speak, for a couple years.
They would have had to cover up the costs that they were mounting. Yeah, but I think the investment would have been so worth it for them. They would be doing so much better right now, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they would be better
if they had the right leadership. So it's not just the Sega merger; they would also need the right leadership because
Don Magic screwed the company big time.
Yeah, so you know what? I mean, there's a lot of ifs. I'm just saying they had a huge amount of potential in terms of the amount of IP that they were about to obtain because between
definitely.
Yeah.
It would have ignored so many of their IPs over the years, man. Like they have so many good IPs in the bank, like just sitting, and it's like
stop.
Bitch about Konami.
Please just sell Rare to Nintendo if you're not going to use them. Please stop keeping the Rare vault when you do hardly anything with like most of the games.
It's not like if they were to be using them, I wouldn't complain.
Nintendo would do much with the Rare vault, other than like Battletoads maybe, but just like.
Yeah, I just want somebody. Somebody needs to do it. Though.
Just the N64 era, like half the good games on the N64 were from Rare.
It's true.
Like
so true.
They were just churning out quality. Like maybe not any of the games were like Game of the Year candidates, but they were all like really good.
Game.
What?
Yeah, I mean I agree. Like, but I just don't see like. It's like.
They're not what they were. They don't exist.
Dude, I think it's like arcade shooters. Like, I would love arcade shooters like Galactic Attack and, Raiden and, Ikaruga to make a comeback. But I just don't see it happening. And it's because that market is done. Like, people just aren't interested in those type of games anymore. And I think I think if A Hat in Time comes out on the Switch and it doesn't do well, I think that's every evidence that platformers that don't have Mario in the title just aren't big anymore.
Yeah.
I just
and it's
really
unfortunate
think
because I still really love those types of games. You
I
put
do too, man.
Banjo-Kazooie in front of me, the original Banjo-Kazooie, I'll play that to death.
definitely.
Like, I'll still play it.
I just bought the Rare Replay collection, as a matter of fact. And I mean, there's so many good games on there, like Conquer. And,
I would love to see a Donkey Kong 3D game, like
Gosh,
you know.
please.
And I think that has potential to be a unique platform because Donkey Kong, he goes through the vines, and like the way you move about with Donkey Kong can be so different from Mario. I don't know if we'll ever see it, but you know.
You mean
Yeah, that
something
would be
similar
awesome.
to what they did with Donkey Kong 64?
Yeah,
what?
but without the faults.
Yeah, that was crazy because Banjo was better.
Yeah,
it was better, but I liked Donkey Kong 64 a lot. I used to play that game all the time.
I had it as a
that
kid.
was one with the expansion pack, right?
Yeah. But I didn't even have to worry about the expansion pack. As soon as that came out, my parents just bought it. It was just instant.
I had like
I
3
think it came with Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah,
So
it did.
bought that.
It came packed in. I had like 3 RAM expansions. So that was good.
My problem was we never had memory packs, so we just started games over and over and over again. It's just like
that's how I was with the PS2 when it first came out, man. I couldn't afford a PS2.
Oh yeah, you
or
get
a
those
PS2
16 megabit card, expansions, and you'd be like, yes, so much memory.
Yeah, dude, exactly. Because I had a 4 meg for the PS1, and that got me so far. Like, I think I had like 10 games you could save on it, 10 files, or what was it called? The blocks back then.
Yeah,
I had 10 blocks I had, and I would literally like recycle them. I would go back through and I'd be like, man, I have like 20 hours of this game on here. Screw it. I'm never going to play it again. And you know what I mean? Like, you just have to kind of weigh the options, but like, that's how it was back then.
Going through their save files, and it'd be like it'd be in the kilobytes instead of, the gigabytes.
Yeah.
It's
now
like,
you have people that
things were so small then.
Yeah. But now you have people like literally complain about, I can only put 10 games on my hard drive at one time. And it's like, oh man, it's just, I hate to sound like an old fogey, but it's like, man, like, you don't realize how freaking lucky you are right now. Like, we had to suffer through a lot of shit back then for you to have your 10 games on your hard drive.
Just to save my freaking game, I had to buy a pack to plug into the back of my controller.
Yeah, exactly.
If they ran out of batteries, you were screwed. Gosh, like, do you want Rumble? Okay, go buy an extra pack and some AA batteries. You get some Rumble. Like, what?
I want to bring up something to you guys that I noticed the other day. So I just got and you might find it funny since we're talking about Sega and stuff, classic. So I bought the Super Nintendo, or not, I bought it. My wife bought me for Christmas a Super Nintendo Classic, right?
Nice.
And I was plugging it in, and I have 2 docks for my Switch. I have one in my living room and one in my bedroom. And I went to plug it in to the strip, and I look, and it's a big goddamn brick plug. And I was like, okay, no problem. I'll just put it on the bottom. But then I look, and there's already a big goddamn brick plug, and it's the Switch plug. I was like, what the
So
shit,
true.
man? Why are we going backwards?
So true. Oh my gosh.
Why did they go backwards, man? Like,
yeah, I don't. It's weird. Yeah, because I mean, like the Xbox, they keep theirs in the middle, or I think the Xbox One S has it built in now. So they just had empty space, I guess. They just slotted that right on in there. Yeah. But just put it in the middle, please.
I think the reason why they did that is because they wanted to give you the option to use it like a 3DS.
Yeah, it is more convenient than when you want to just plug it in the bottom.
Right, because it doesn't have to plug into the dock. You can take it out of the dock and have just a Switch and a charger. That's like literally what I had
so much more
for
convenient.
the holidays. So I use my Switch as a 3DS.
Oh my gosh! And what sucks even more is my brother. For his, we share the same little strip down here because we don't have that many plugs in my room. And he puts his freaking he has an iPhone 5C, but he puts a freaking iPad, like the old huge iPad ones, on there. It takes like 3 slots because it's like just big enough to where you can't plug something in right next to it, and it takes up 2 already. It's just like, oh my gosh, stop. Just stop.
So you can only fit like 2 things. You can fit your Switch.
I unplugged the Switch and his iPad thing to plug in my lights for my umbrella here. I'm just like,
it'd be smarter if they were all sideways. Like if you just flipped.
Yes, I was just thinking that. Like, and you can just.
Well, didn't they have that where they had like, I'm pretty sure my one surge protector I have in my living room.
Some of them rotate.
My TV. Yeah, like mine.
Some of them rotate.
I'm pretty sure it rotates. It's older, but I'm pretty sure like mine are all to the side.
Yeah, if you buy the nice ones, they can rotate and they're nice, but I don't have that. I had one was ever in the garage at one time. I was like, I need a freaking power strip. Let me go in my garage and find one. So.
Yeah, well, that's what I did.
Slim pickings.
I mean, it's older than dirt, but I mean, somehow it must have been like top of the line when it was bought. So I'm kind of glad about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of those things where, like, I just couldn't believe, like, when I saw that the other day, and I was like, where the hell am I going to plug this in at?
Right.
I literally only have 2 things plugged into this power cord right now, my TV and my Switch, and I have no space to plug in my Super NES Classic.
My dad, the other day, he went in his closet, he was taking stuff out. He pulls out a box full of Timex Sinclair 1000 games. Just a box full of them. And I'm like, what the hell is a Timex Sinclair 1000? I'm just like, it's this like, it looks like a notebook, but it's a PC, like desktop, and it's like 2 kilobytes of RAM. I'm looking at these games. They're on cassettes. The games are on cassettes, and they're all like 2 kilobytes each. The RAM needed for some of the games was like the most, where you're like, oh, I got to get a RAM expansion to play this game. 16 kilobytes of RAM. I'm just like, this thing is ancient.
Yeah, man. Holy hell. That's like, what, early 80s? Early to mid 80s?
It was 80. It was 82. It was the year before the NES came out, which also had 2 kilobytes of RAM. I looked it up because I was like, I wonder how much that had. I'm like, my dad must have been mind blown to have gone from that to the NES.
Yeah, man.
I have to say, you guys have such amazing chemistry on this stream. It's amazing. Like I'm really a big proponent of organic conversations, and I just like how this conversation is just flowing. Like that's why I've been quiet. I'm like, damn, that's a good point. Yeah, I like how you guys are going. I like the interaction with the chat and then how it's going back and forth. Like this is because I listen to a lot of podcasts and I watch a lot of streams. I'm like, this is really. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's always fun to just talk about and rant and gripe.
I can't
grind axes.
I have this problem where I don't stop talking.
Dude, I know.
Yeah,
I have the worst problem of ranting. People are constantly like, you could have made that video like, 2 minutes. It's like a 10-minute video. I'm just like, I had things to say, man. I had things to say.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that though, man. As long as it's like you have a direction with the thought. Like that's my whole thing is like
for sure.
We're all traveling on this road together. Who cares if the trip takes a little longer? We'll take the scenic route. There's no problem with that.
For sure.
But that is why I said at the beginning of it, I was like, hopefully it doesn't take too long. Not because I care how long it's going to be, but just because I know that I'm very windy, and I'm guaranteed, you guys do this as like your job. So I figured, I was like, oh man, this is going on forever.
Yeah, I talk into a mic and a camera for a living, literally. So I just talk for days.
Yeah, so I just knew, I was like, oh man, this is like the perfect storm right here.
Yeah, you remember at the beginning of the podcast, Mekel was like, 30 minutes, an hour, So
Yeah,
good.
dude, I knew. I knew that
I was like,
before.
oh, really? Okay.
Oh,
I
30
knew
minutes
it
is like impossible.
Dude,
I
it
knew it wasn't
really,
gonna
I
happen.
can't.
Yeah.
No, like the thing is, I watched some like short discussion videos from different YouTubers about different topics, and they're like, oh, 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, I watched them, like, how did they do that? How did they have a natural,
How?
like, organic discussion in a short amount of time? Because, like, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
sometimes there's just so much that could be said,
Yeah.
right? It just, I think it's one of those things where, like, some people, like myself, you're like, oh, but what about this? Oh, we need to talk about this. Oh, but then there's this. Oh, but then there's this. And then it comes to a point where you have multiple things you want to talk about at once, and you have no choice but to just pick one and roll with it.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's being on the ball, so to speak. I mean, or on topic, you know. And I think a lot of some of the people, like you were saying, that have 15-minute short segments, I think they can do that because both them and their guest, or them, you know, just themselves, like they have a bullet point topics where they can kind of go down through, and they can kind of check off, like, in their mind at least, what they're hitting on. And once they finish those trains of thought, they can kind of go click, you know, I'm done right there. So, you know, whereas we're having a conversation, we're not going down through a checklist. You know, we're,
For sure.
like Mekel said, we're having an organic conversation. And with an organic conversation, we're going to branch off into 20 different, you know, trees, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the podcast that I started doing last year with the best man for my wedding, he would have like bullet point topics, and he'd want to go, okay, we're gonna do 5 minutes on this, 5 minutes on this, and blah 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 blah. And I feel like if you're gonna have an organic conversation, it's impossible to set parameters on it. Like, everyone's gonna have their opinion. It can go left, I mean right. God, I don't know my directions, but it can go any direction, and you just never know. So, you know, it's hard to put like a time frame on it. So
sure.
I'm glad you guys really embody organic conversations. I really like that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's awesome.
The only thing I can say is, man, is like the number one downloaded podcast online is the Adam Carolla Show. I listen to him pretty religiously, and I mean, he has a time limit sort of for his show, but within that time limit, it's anything goes. He goes off on rants, he goes off on tangents, you know, whatever. Anything goes. I mean,
well, it's interesting that way, right? Because you can get into a situation where you're so caught up in the flow of the conversation that the timer clicks and it's like, oh, well, that's all for now, everyone. See you next week, right? And then people are like, oh, but I wanted more, right? And then they come back for more.
Exactly. So. That's true too. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to, you know, get rid of all your content right there and then, but I mean, the lucky thing is that we live in the information age. So, you know, we're never going to have, like, we literally just talked about the things that are going on, like, this week, today. And we use that to branch off into so many different topics. Imagine what can happen.
The crazy thing is that there's
week.
still a lot that happened this week that we could get into. Like, there's still a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's all I can say is, I mean, we're lucky to live in the information age where so much information passes. We're good. I mean, anybody can talk about anything. Well, I can't say anybody, but
not anything about anything isn't exactly true, but a lot.
Yeah, that's not true.
A lot
about most things.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, you can have a good discussion if you have the ability to have a good conversation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. I guess we can go ahead and wrap it up. I definitely think we need to have another podcast like this. If you guys are down.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down.
It's been fun.
Power Level Amy, we're calling you out to be on the show.
Yeah, that I definitely want to see her on here.
All right. So thank everybody for watching the Kasanova Podcast. and we're just going to go ahead and wrap it up with you guys saying, where can people find you? So, whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first since mine's the easiest. You can find me at Twitter at Jonesy The Gent, and just hit me up whenever.
All right.
Cool. Jonesy the Gent.
Guess I'll go second. You can find me I have 2 YouTube channels, actually. I have What About Nintendo, which is my more popular one, and then I have What About Nintendo Gaming, which I plan on fully relaunching sometime probably at the beginning of next month. And then you can follow me on Twitter at WhatAboutNin. So, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm AndresRestart. So if you search on YouTube, AndresRestart, ANDRES, Restart, RESTRT, you will find me. If you like Twitter, you can also find me there at AndresRestart. So, yeah, that's it.
All right. And you guys know where to find me, MekelKasanova. I kind of tried to unify it across all social media platforms, except PSN, which I'm still Mekel1988. Anyway. Yes, that's where you guys can find me. Make sure you guys go and subscribe to everyone's channel. Follow them on Twitter. I'll leave links in the description below. And yeah, that just about wraps it up. If you guys ever want to be on the podcast, shoot me an email at mekel@mekelkasanova.com or send me a DM, slide into my DM on Twitter. And that just about wraps it up. Peace.
Bye, guys.
See you, everybody.
Bye.